Ah, fancy. I'm still getting used to the new graphics here, James.
Look good though. That's the main
they
thing.
look so fresh, so clean. It's lovely. But this is the Blast premiere and the Backstage, the first one to kick off the year.
Oh yes, they can see our setup as well, right? We're still in the midst of getting everything ready. It's looking good to start off with already. It's like the sneak peek right before we get into it all.
What's rad about it is that these digs, man, they're so sick. And you guys are going to get to see more of it, obviously. Don't worry. We got a lot coming, for the show to kick things off today. But, I mean, totally new venue, totally new event, whole new thing going down with Blast.
A new format, new little bit name change. You're starting to see the graphics. And obviously, we've had a lot of sneak peeks that we can't say yet, but we really are looking forward to showing people.
We had a pretty cool
different
meeting
way.
this
Yeah,
morning.
we definitely did.
Okay, all the graphics, everything is looking really good.
If we weren't hyped before, we definitely were after that.
Dude, that's the thing. That's what you want to wake up for in the morning, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, cool. Let's get hyped. Let's get stoked. Because this is going to be so sick. It's the new year, new decade. Everybody getting all jazzed up. And, well, obviously, we have a whole new event structure for Blast.
Yeah.
They decided to change things up. So it's no longer the Blast Pro Series. That's gone. Now we're going to have Blast Premiere. And, do you want to run us through, some of the differences?
Yeah, so I guess when you got to look at it straight away, the format, right? It was people were very critical when it came to the format of what we saw on the Blast Pro Series. What we're kind of from this time is obviously more teams, but also more teams that have chances to come into this as well. And I think the great thing is that Blast are clearly listening, where many people get stuck in their ways. They want to sit on the same things for a long time.
There's a lot of debate going on right now on that.
just a little bit. But we're happy with what we got now. We get more games. We get best of threes. We get an interesting way of seeing it all go down as well. And the groups is the most interesting part for me because I know what groups people are looking forward to. There's definitely a group of Defina in these three that we get to start things off with.
Yeah, we got to do that as well. But you know what? We're not alone here, James. Clearly, you guys see people walking by all the time back there. But, there's also some guys that are pretty good at talking about Counter-Strike, except that today, at least right now, they're filling in as our sideline reporters. So we're going to hand it over to Launders and Scrawny.
Cheers, guys. That's right. Scrawny and Launders here backstage with Blast Premier Week 1. We've got NIP, MIBR, Liquid and FaZe, and we're going to be trying to catch as much action, all sorts of tidbits of goodies for you throughout this day. Oh, it's hectic back here.
It is, yes. There's a lot going on. We got the backstage look. We've got production out here, testing the mics and everything. And backstage there's a live stream going on as well as a bunch of other content. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll see you guys around.
So there you have it. Launders and Scrawny, they found their way here.
Yes.
Fantastic. They've made it. Survived the trip. You never know where Launders is in the world. I mean,
he's been on holiday for the past 3 months, I'm sure.
I swear. The thing is, you think that the guy moved to Thailand without telling anybody. All of a sudden, it's just nothing but photos from over there. And I mean, the guy was killing it.
Yeah, making me very jealous. I'd definitely like to be in a warmer place than where I've been. I've spent time in Kiev and London, so it's just been cold, wet,
Yeah, okay.
windy.
Kiev is proper cold. I wouldn't say London is cold, but Kiev is cold.
It's cold in London.
Yeah.
We got rain outside right now.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Oh, you live in Sweden, so it's completely, you're...
It's not cold. But as far as, as far as this event is going, man, we're already getting into it. We got Launders and Scrawny. They're going to be roaming around. We have pretty much this sick venue that's planned out. It's called 3 Mills. It's ancient. The building's
famous studio, yeah.
Famous studio.
This is my borough as well, by the way.
Really?
So I'm from East London.
Okay, well, I'm going to let you talk about it then, because, obviously you're going to know the digs.
Well, I'm as far away as possible, right? So I'm from East 17, which is the hood, basically, in comparison to this. We're right now in the fancy area. We're in the nice part. So as you stretch out from central London, it just progressively gets worse as you go onto the outer reaches.
Okay.
So, but this is the real nice spot. Even when I came here, I was like, is this still East London? This doesn't feel like where I'm from. This is not normal.
There's a word for that. Gentrification.
Yes, definitely.
The hipsters move in and everything changes.
Yeah, all the fancy banks and everything else like that.
There you go.
I'm happy to actually have my first event being in London outside of where we used to be in the Gfinity stuff all that time ago. It's been a long time since we've been able to do a big event in London.
Shoot, that's right. It's been years. I remember that Gfinity thing.
Oh, yes.
Holy smokes. That's a throwback and a half.
Good old cinema.
Yeah, that was actually really, if you guys, I'm sure the VODs or something around there. If you ever want to go back to the beginning of CSGO when it was really kicking off, go check it out.
We looked a lot different as well.
We did.
A hell of a lot different.
I was way more overweight. So let's
So
take.
was
Let's take. So
Cool.
what I want to see now is an overview of the day.
Yeah, what do we got planned for the rest of the day? That's the main thing, because backstage becomes quite interesting when we have a look at all of this.
That's exactly it, and I think we just get to talk about it. Yeah,
Oh,
so we're hitting the ground running here, James. But I think we just get to talk about it, and really what it is going to be is usually how it goes down. We'll have some quirky events. We'll get some tours of the venue and all of that as well. That's what Scrawny and Launders are getting paid for, and then we also get to talk to the players and the analysts. So today is going to be a bit of a packed day. We're going to have some of the teams up here to discuss their thoughts on the year. They've just had a break. Some of them have been practicing practicing really hard, apparently. So we're going to see like what
apparently.
they. Yeah,
So we're hoping we get your best friend, right?
apparently they've been practicing really hard. So we're going to hear from them. And there's, we're just going to have a jam-packed day. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll start hopping into it. Dude, that was rad.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. That was the intro, one of the new ones here for the Blast Premiere. You can see all the change to the graphics and everything. And, pretty soon we're going to have to do a new one again because James, this is his first Blast,
one.
apparently.
Yeah, see?
Dude.
Just starting fresh.
First for everything.
Oh, yes.
First Blast Premiere.
I love
First
it.
Blast Premiere backstage.
I'll take it.
Now I got James with me. This is rad. Perfect.
We're in heaven right now. Right?
We are.
Pure
We are.
enjoyment.
We are.
Good venue. So much more to give. And we've got more to tell them about as well.
Oh, and the thing is that the venue, they're capable of everything here.
Yeah.
And I'm told, like Launders, He's taking full advantage of it. Pretty sure Launders right now is just taking full advantage of all the pampering and, you know, getting taken care of. He's just loving
Look,
life.
his nails done as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was supposed to be a really clean segue into, there it is. Nope,
No,
never mind. That was the face.
We don't get to see the enjoyment of it yet.
No. But Launders is getting his makeup done, I'm told, so whatever. Maybe we got some footage of that, or we can cut to him. But the big thing, yeah, there it
And
is.
we all know the Counter-Strike's
No,
really
there we
important,
go.
But what's more important, obviously, is how good I look in the team.
Of course. I love it. He's a happy man getting his makeup done, sat there,
Yeah,
ready
he's
and
loving. I
prepared.
mean, dude, that's what it's all about. You gotta relax.
Well,
You gotta know when to take
put him in the best
advantage.
spot possible, right? So he performs in the best way.
So as far as performing the best way, I mean, we're going to have a few bit of debates going on.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's going to be one of the big things, is the big season debate. And you and I, we're going to be joined up here by Thorn and Sponge.
Yep.
We're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty details, what perhaps has changed with Blast Premier, what's different from Blast Pro Series last year, and for the year before that as well. So there's a lot to cover going into 2020. And so we're going to be joined by those two guys who are going to be my partners on the desk throughout this fiasco. And
Good luck.
yeah,
Good luck.
it's gonna be great. Just gotta get warmed up sometimes, you know. Like you can't dip your toe in when it's Duncan and Sponge. You just have to
This is
throw
the
yourself in and just fully, you know.
You're getting no
absorb.
easy day, easy moment. It's going to be straight fire from foreign, and then you trying to maybe just like get a little rope, put it around him,
It's gonna
rein
be
him
so
in every
good.
now and
It's gonna
again.
be so good. I can't wait. yeah, he's feeling great. Bumped into him this morning at the hotel. He's looking great, and that's going to be one segment. But again, we've got all sorts of segments coming up for today. If this is your first time on the Blast stream, we do this media day where we start talking with the teams, we start talking with players, we start talking with analysts, and we do this all day long. And so that hasn't changed. That much hasn't changed here, going from Pro Series or Pro to Premier. But we also have the teams joining us later.
Oh, yes. We've got some good teams to kick things off with as well. And these are the ones we want to be speaking to, right? We're going to have Liquid, we're going to have FaZe, we're going to have MIBR, and we're going to have NIP. Now, a couple of different things, right? With Liquid, obviously, they had an end of the year which was less than ideal on what they would have wanted, so a lot to ask these guys. We got your mate Fallen. Hopefully, we'll come sit down so we can deal with this this interesting way he took your conversation, which actually wasn't bad at all. Like,
I'm
for
curious.
us, it's normal.
I've got questions too. I haven't seen Fallen since, so I mean, I got questions too.
Maybe he's just not happy you're back somewhere. We all are, but maybe he isn't.
That's
Did
fine.
you upset
Fair
him
enough.
back in the day?
Can't please everybody, Banks. Can't please everybody.
We know that. But then also, when you look at like the likes of FaZe and NIP, these are two teams that got something to prove. FaZe started to look a lot better towards the end of the year, while NIP have gone through mad changes. The legends have all gone. We've got a completely fresh-faced NIP.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And, yes, there is a fresh-faced NIP, so fresh, so clean, so face. And they're going to be here, obviously. They've been bouncing around, and that's one of the things I think we're going to get to take a look at as well. But we do have a Premier VT to take a look at as well. So we're going to hop into that right now before getting into the rest. So that was all the teams.
Yeah.
All of the teams, not just invited, they will be participating
Exactly.
in the tournament. So that's great news. And,
yes.
you know, some of the best in the business right there. So we have a lot to look forward to.
I'm looking forward to seeing Vitality again, though, because obviously they ended on a high. There's obviously still a lot of conversation. We see Zyru grab himself that #1 spot in the world. I'm loving the fact in that group as well, we instantly get Vitality to take on Na'Vi, because I'm just like, simple. You said it's less about you being #1 now. You want this team mode to come in. Vitality, do they have that team mode? There's so much. There's so many storylines with this.
I'm wondering, well, Simple, I love Simple's attitude. Always have.
Definitely,
I mean, even when he was the Undertaker, love that guy. And then when he's popping heads off. He's still the Undertaker, but, you know, when he's popping heads left and right. I mean, the guy's a monster, but he's got that ethic, that work ethic that just, I mean, it shines right through no matter what. So I am interested to see how he takes, you know, the first, second.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like both of them have got a yoke to carry around their neck, you know, so it's not like one has it easier than the other.
Definitely not.
Then again, Simple did have Electronic, who was there to help out with him.
You'd say he's got more backup on Na'Vi's
Does have a
side,
little
right?
bit more backup, but that being said, I mean, it's still really rough for Simple.
Well, they've not made stupid decisions now. They're giving him back the AWP at least, right? So he can not be hindered. Why take the best player with that weapon off of it?
It isn't that a big thing, right? We're going to have Duncan and Sponge later.
I know.
And that's
I can't
fantastic
wait.
because Duncan is also one of those guys who's going to be able to go through
Heavily
it all.
critical.
And he was one of the guys who, when that ranking came out, he's like, the top 3, you can make strong arguments for any order there. They're all so close. They're all so good.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm
Depends
curious
what
to
your
hear
metric is,
what Duncan
right?
has to say about that later. But, as far as the rest of the teams are concerned, what we're going to be getting into, it is going to be the big debate between Duncan and Sponge and ourselves. We're going to get to chime in, but we will also get to take a look around the venue. We will also get to have a bit of fun with that as well. So, that's going to be the fun part as well. So don't worry, guys. There's so much to see here. It's the first time that any of this is really going down in this studio. It feels a bit weird to be back in a studio, actually.
Yeah, I kind of like, yes, the arenas are great and that, but when you get this studio side of things, we get to have a lot of fun with it all. But we should probably have a look at what else is coming, because this is just the kickoff in London, but we got a spring final that's going to be coming in Moscow. So have a look at this.
Moscow, make some noise!
This is something special to win here in Moscow.
And here it might be 3. Down to the 1v1 and he'll tap the bomb. Gets the kill. Na'Vi 11-11.
This is the place you want to be if you're a fan of Counter-Strike. This is where all of the action is going down.
Oh, the timing is unbelievable. Oh boy.
What an impressive team. This is just the beginning now.
One man left standing. How exciting is this? Trading blow for blow, and Flamey here with another.
Oh my goodness.
So hyped up right now. What a victory.
So there you have it, Moscow. And last time around, you saw it there on the screen as well, the iconic moment where Zeus hung up the mouse for the last time. And a good way for him to do it in front of that semi-home crowd.
Yeah.
You look at it, Russia, Ukraine.
And I mean, what a legacy that guy got.
Yes.
Actually got a major in the end as well, despite it all. I mean,
Not with Na'Vi of all teams. As well. Yeah, how funny is it? Most of his entire career, in 1.6 all the way to go, was Na'Vi. Goes to a different team, wins the major, then comes back and,
then things happened.
Definitely.
But, the guy, he is still a legend in his own right.
Big
So
time.
glad that he got the send-off, that he was able to get there at the end. That's a big deal. And it's really sick to be going back to Moscow. We've done big events in Moscow in the past in CSGO. It's always been crazy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the fans are awesome. So that's definitely a big thing to look forward to, going into the rest of this year and to close, this first season.
And this is it, right? It is the first season because the premiere, we changed things up. We've got a lot going on, like we were discussing earlier. But also, we're not going to now be waiting for Foreign and Sponge because it's going to be debate time real soon. But some of the other teams, the big thing I want to ask Duncan is, like, does he actually think this complexity roster has a good chance, the same as like the OG roster? Because they're the two teams that most people are like, do they really belong a spot? Like that kind of debate with it. So it's like, okay, I can see positives for both, but Duncan would be very straight down the middle on it. He's like, okay, this is exactly what he thinks where it comes down to these teams who have a lot to offer against some of the big names here.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how the complexity, because I've been following a lot of what's been going on with Lake in the background, that whole facility that they built out. I think right now they're running like the World of Warcraft race to World First. They put on a whole event there in that whole facility. That facility is bonkers. So, I mean, the CSGO team, it seems like they are getting quite a bit of support.
Yeah,
and Lake has actually been one of those owners who's been very straightforward. Right from the get-go, he was like, I'm not playing around. We're going to have the money, and we want to make the plays. I'm done with complexity being at the bottom of the pack. Now we need to start actually getting to the top again. It's going to be really exciting to watch this team develop.
And even with the money, you don't always get the players you want, because some of them did manage to escape him. So
somehow, but still got the firepower. Turns out, Banks, we got to take a quick break.
Okay.
But when we come back, we are going to be hopping into the debate with Sponge and Thorn, so you don't want to miss it.
let's go.
Backstage premiere. We're here with Olaf Meister, FaZe Clan champion.
Oh, you're there.
Collab,
You got
just
it.
blast.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You love the new merch? You got lots of merch on FaZe.
Yeah, I have a lot. I need some more, but I love it. I think it's really cool. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then before we talk about the next thing, I just want to go do a quick crep check.
Yeah, man, we're checking the
Can
shoes.
we get a side
Some
view of the shoes?
arigatos.
Woo! They're dirty, so I don't know why you feel them. But yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's a little bit wet outside, yeah.
Right.
Where are you coming from?
We just came from Belgrade. We've been boot camping there for a week before this tournament, so we feel ready and hopefully can show some new things.
Who's the best team in the group?
Us.
Yeah?
And,
No. Liquid is the best thing, but I hope it's us.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, I like the confidence
We'll,
at first.
we'll put you in
edit
for
that
a
out
hard
you.
second, bro.
Yeah.
yeah. Last question, man. When it comes to in-game style, because, I mean, you're rocking some arigatos right now, bro. You wearing gloves in-game?
No.
None at all. What about a knife?
I have Ruby M9 and Ruby Karambit.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah, solid stuff.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. We'll go back to you for that. So here we are at Blast Premiere, and me and Connor have been on content duty all day long. But he got a little frustrated, and he said he doesn't know where the content's at. So he said he's going to go look for content, and I don't really know what that means. Hey. What the fuck?
There's nothing good in here.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. Thank you for being patient, but we're now live once again with the day here, Blast Premiere. Yeah, Backstage. It's the great debate. That's what we're going to be hopping right into, and that's what we hyped up going into the break, and now we're just going to get right into it. So let's go ahead and show the rest of the people here who are now with me. Yes, thank you. The big preseason debate show. Thorin, Sponge. You guys saw Banks earlier, but if you haven't, Banks is here as well.
4 30-plus-year-old men yell at
Wait,
clouds.
whoa. I'm not 30 yet.
Not
Don't
30
put me
yet?
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
This year.
4 almost 30-year-old men yell at clouds.
That's the
what
wrong
this segment
angle.
should
What
be.
you need to do, I learned this from Riot Games recently, actually. What you do is you say,
You learned something from Riot.
We have over 100 years of collective experience here. Which obviously then sounds stupid because it sounds like we invented this post-Victorian age. That's the angle, right?
Oh, dear. Yeah, okay. You were alive when these buildings were getting built up here. 3 mills. Seen it all. Fucking seen it all.
I mean, Scoots was, but he's not.
He's at Disneyland right now.
Why you just said that? All I'm going to say is...
Oh, he is?
Well, let's leave that there. I'm just saying, what the hell is he doing in Disneyland?
Why not?
Star Wars.
Yeah, but Star Wars. My bad.
Right for fun.
I mean, dude,
Let's leave
lightsabers.
that there.
Oh, God.
Leave it there.
Dude, that is...
They said we could go for as long as we
That's all
wanted.
I did. No
I
one
didn't,
thinks the
no,
cat
but I didn't
should-
realize that I had freaking James Harding on the show with me here. That's how we opened the good show back in the day. All right, well, I'll let you guys go find the VOD if you
Little
want.
Easter egg for anyone there.
Yeah, exactly. Go find the VOD if you want. But yeah, basically, guys, we're just here to talk smack about everything, all things CS. Obviously going to be closing out Blast Pro Series from last year and going into Blast Premier, which is the new format for 2020 for Blast. 2 seasons and a whole different approach. So, yeah, we can hop right into that. I mean, let's actually just say, Duncan, I know you're going to have quite a few opinions on the topic.
Sure.
I mean, moving out from Blast Pro Series, that was definitely something that you expressed a lot of... you made a lot of content about.
Clear why
Yeah, you made it pretty
my
clear.
feelings on the matter.
You want to reiterate real quick, just TLDR?
Basically, people might not know this. I've always hated best of ones in every context. Like, actually, the only time I ever got tricked into thinking they were all right was when we brought Swiss system in. Because initially, the novelty of the idea, you can play anyone next, seemed cool.
Sure.
But even then, that had its
seeding
flaws.
sucked a bit,
Exactly.
yeah.
You got teams that went 3-0 and then habitually just went out in the first round. So even when you have, like, DreamHack Open uses the classic format we used in CSGO for many years, I always hated the idea that, like, you can get to the playoffs without playing a best of 3.
Yeah.
Because at that point in time, we just know, like, first of all, very quick side tangent, you don't veto the same way in a best of 1 that you do in a best of 3. You can't get exposed in the same way in a best of 1 unless you really have no map pool overlap whatsoever. So it just means you're almost like encouraging teams that are probably more near the middle to have the one-off day. That's amazing. And it seems like that's building a storyline, but actually you're setting everyone up for a nasty surprise sometimes.
Yeah, Counter-Strike, I think, and it's hard because we don't really have any metrics to pin things by, right? You kind of, if you win the major, you carry that belt of being the major champion to the next one. But I think the way that, like, I measure, like, good Counter-Strike teams, or what I want to see the most here is teams being consistent over a long period of time, right? Because Astralis being the greatest for a long period, that's what I want to see.
Sure.
I want to see teams go on those runs, and I also want to see them show depth over as many maps as possible. We don't want to see, if you're the specialist on Nuke like they were, you could win that one, but you start to win their map pick or go to a third and have some middle ground. So I think that now with this best of 3 system that we have going on here, it's more of what people are used to. I will say that the recent changes from Valve with the economy have meant that I think best of 1s are more viable because pistol rounds have less influence. But I still think that your knowledge base over 7 maps or 6 maps for most teams is important to have because that shows how good you are across the board of Counter-Strike, not just in one specialty area. And I think that's kind of where I look at it and I go, okay, so now we're talking real Counter-Strike, right? We're seeing everybody having to get put through their paces. It's not just rocking up and hopefully having one good day, like you're saying, winning 2 best of 1s and going straight through. You have to do it through a longer form. You have to do it in matches where, it's not your comfort zone. It's usually going to be your hopefully if people are vetoing correctly, your weakest map. So hopefully now with this new system that Blast have put in place, it's going to be, they're going to release some details tomorrow, I think they were told us, about like how all the global final stuff's going to work. But that's going to have that in mind is the whole year. So that should be exciting stuff.
Anything to add?
I would just say, like, I think a flaw is because people are so used to the old days where you had the best of 1s, then you go into the best of 3s for the playoffs, and then, I mean, sometimes you even have best of 5 for a final. People have this, like, aversion to the idea of, like, yeah, but if I've already seen them play best of threes, or if I've even already seen them play each other, like, hasn't it ruined the surprise?
Yeah.
I can tell you, if you've ever watched Dota 2, where they commonly had this full circuit system where they have double limb and they had best of threes in the group stage, the best of three in the group stage has a different feel anyway. In fact, sometimes there you will experiment with a map pick. Sometimes you'll sometimes agree to almost like a handshake, like we'll meet in the middle on the map, say, let's just see who plays. So it's not like that'll ever ruin a playoff matchup if they meet later. In fact, it can build into the storyline.
I just have one thing here, right? Like, I look at, so for example, a best of one, a best of three, and a best of five are all like different disciplines in a way. It's like if you think about tennis, there's clay court, there's grass court, they play indoors, they play outdoors. Obviously not as drastic of changes there, but it's still different, like playing fields and stuff, right, as well. And I think, curiously, I know a lot of people don't like best of five finals because it's such a long day, right? You could be talking 8 hours.
Sure. I'm there with you on that one. I think it's a bit much.
I think for like the viewers of a casual viewer base, right, they're not going to be tuning in for all 5 maps. Unless you are like a super Counter-Strike fan, that's very rare. But what I like about it is, obviously, it's very long form, but I like the fact that it is a ramp up, right? Like, it is the sense of, well, if you want to be the best, you have to win on 5. It's like in the UFC, their title fights go 5 rounds. When you're fighting normally, they're fighting in 3 rounds. Okay, now you want to fight for the belt. Now you want to fight for the actual title. Well, let's go. Let's be the best we can. So I think that these things, it depends on how you frame it and how you look at it, and there's good and bad things with all this stuff. I'm hoping that this year, with all the different TOs we see different formats. I don't want to have every event running like a GSL or because then that's boring, right? Like, we want to have competitive formats, but we also want those formats to be a little bit different, right? Because it's going to offer different things for the viewers, and I think that's some interesting things we could look into this year.
Okay, but wouldn't that have been the case last year then? I mean, Blast was running their own format.
Yeah,
other tournaments.
I want good formats.
Okay,
right?
okay. All right, fair enough.
When we talk about variety, we don't mean like
enough.
that.
Well, we can also take a look at the seeding and how that's all. I'm told we have a graphic there to check that out as well. So as far as the seeding is concerned for the spring series, Astralis, Team Liquid, Evil Geniuses at the top. I don't think that's a big shocker, is there?
There's one that already leaps out to me right now, which is, listen, this is where, obviously, I don't know how this was determined.
They seeded each other.
The teams seeded each other.
Well,
1 to 11.
That's very interesting then, because the one that shocks me is FaZe Clan is above Vitality.
That doesn't shock me based off of things that I've been hearing behind the scenes at the start of the year.
Okay.
All right. So
someone tried this one time. Watch out.
Look, I'm not going to put anything into this. I'm not going to give away too many details here, but things have been sounding like they've been going well for FaZe Clan.
Okay.
Things also sound like they've been going very well for Na'Vi with the change of Perfecto over Guardian.
Makes
so
sense.
those two teams right there are the highest ones on my radar, right? I'm expecting Astralis, Liquid, EG all to show up in the same way they did before 2020 rolled around. But Na'Vi and FaZe, 100 Thieves are all, like, the fact that they're seated 4th, I think...
Is that giving them a bit too much credit?
They're a good team. They're very good fundamentally. But let's say Na'Vi and FaZe were as good fundamentally as 100 Thieves. They're obviously not right now because we haven't seen it. But I think they blow 100 Thieves out of the water.
No, but that's the edge 100 Thieves has. Is that one reason I enjoy watching them play is, quite frankly, I'll go right to the top. Except for Astralis, it's hard to find teams that actually have the same basis they do. They have the fundamentals. They have a pretty solid map pool. They veto correctly. Everyone does their job.
Yeah.
No big ego. Like, if you wanted to design a team, if you wanted the Disney movie team to follow, they'd be the ones you'd pick. Now, they're not going to win the tournament. It's not a real Disney movie. Unfortunately, they get killed by the bad guy, who's, the rich kid at the end of the movie. But it's like Karate Kid Marvel.
It's real. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of realistic in a way.
But that means they must have been doing well in scrims themselves, I imagine.
Yeah, I think, the confidence that a player like JKS would have gotten from being in the HLTV's top 20, that would have been huge for him, right? And I think that Liaz and Gratisfaction also came alive in tournaments towards the end of 2019. We started to see more stuff out of them. That's just going to continue there. If Gratisfaction can be consistent as an AWP player, because he's the one who's the most in flux for the team, they're starting to look good. We know what Jacob's going to bring. He's been solid almost his entire career. You've got JKS, who is a top 20 player in the world. Azza, I think, has done a fantastic job with Kassad as taking over this in-game leadership role and thriving in it, right? Like, in terms of his stats, they're not as good as when he was just a player. That's always going to be the case. But I think that the way that he's been able to manage this team, it's fantastic because they're a top, well, what are they now? They're a top 7, something like that. They're in the top 10. Sure. But for an Australian team to have stayed like this for this long, that's massive leaps and bounds right there. I look at this thing here and I have huge question marks for that complexity right?
Yeah.
Because
Well, that was going to be the follow-up. Is the bottom
Yeah,
half
yeah,
of the
yeah.
bracket.
Well,
Do we
Of the
see...
top ones? I've got another one. Is
Okay,
one that
well,
one
finish the top
actually-
first.
One I actually found quite interesting is, as much as Team Liquid, the problem is when you think of the last 6 months, you just see every time they took a beating from Astralis.
Yeah,
lost to
it's
Astralis.
kinda true, yeah.
But what you don't see, what you do now in the seeding now is they also beat a lot of teams to get to those matches against Astralis, and I would assume most of the other teams in the scene remember still losing to them 8 months ago, not being so as a result, everyone else has given them mad props there. They put them over EG. EG's won 2 titles in the last few months. Like they're actually giving them their fair due and say they are the number 2 team.
EG aren't going to start practicing according to I'm a Pet until now. Like they're not
that all
back.
about?
Well, I
Interesting.
think because
I think because they have 2 weeks, right? I mean,
are they there in the last group?
I think they're in the last group, aren't they?
So they probably have a bit of a lead in time right there. But
Shoot, do
they,
we have a group? Do we have a group bracket?
They played right up until the end of
Oh,
last
no, they
year.
were. Listen, even
I thought that they were-
they were the team complaining the most about being burned down.
Yeah, they were pretty toasted, weren't they?
They seem to be everywhere.
I think they almost did more events than me, which would have
Which
been
is,
quite
pretty hard
which
to
is
beat.
definitely an
Yeah.
achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? What did you get to? 45 days?
at home.
Straight? No, straight.
Oh no, I don't remember. That was stupid. That
Like,
stretch
you
was
were-
so
you were-
dumb. That was
yeah.
really bad. The thing is, like, I don't have the stress that they have, like flying around having to compete.
Sure.
It's just like when you wake up and you know, like, oh my god, I have to go have makeup again, and like it was like, it's eventually you start questioning life decisions at that point.
And whether or not you should sleep on cloud 9.
Yeah, thank you. You shouldn't anymore. It's all right now.
That was like the heart of darkness when someone said that to you. You were just lost somewhere.
The thing is, I think what people don't, I don't want to, if they can't use their brains and know that, you know, behind the curtain we're actually reasonable human beings and we're entertainers and you guys seem to like it.
Don't blow the whole show.
When we get
What are you
mad.
doing right now? I've just come back. It's supposed to be my entrance.
They like it. They like it when
Whole
we get
thing.
mad, right? They like it. So
Next thing you're going to tell me Stone Cold wasn't actually fired by Vince McMahon.
Oh.
I'm wondering why, you know, like he's beating up his boss. That should have been against labor laws, surely.
I was watching that the other day where Trump's out there with McMahon and they're talking about setting up a fight. Like, there was obviously back in the day. I'm like, how are we? We need that for Counter-Strike.
Yes.
Dude.
Yes.
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Jason
Get it
Anders will
back
be
on track,
happy.
Sam. Like, get it
Yeah,
back
yeah,
on
like,
track.
where do I go
We
from
had the
here?
bottom teams. That's a good
Yes.
Yeah, there you
we
go.
segue
Segue
to
in.
Trump.
Sure. I mean, James, do you want to weigh in on that, as far as the bottom half of the seeds look?
Well, I kind of what I expected with it. Maybe MIBR potentially put higher than what NIP was, but again, we don't know what we're going to see from NIP. Maybe it could be something more special. But
Sure.
I expected complexity at the bottom because I'm not sold on that at all.
No?
Like, I'm not sold on because obviously he went in with the whole, well, Jason Lake went in the whole thing of like he wants to buy everyone good. Even the ones he went for, he couldn't get at times
Yeah.
with all that money. The facility looks amazing. Like, if you're a player, I'd love that. That's the dream. It's got everything you need.
I don't know how I feel about the Herman Miller chairs. They're probably not very good for Counter-Strike.
sure?
I don't
Dude,
know.
those are fire.
Mate, they're
talking out
supposed to
of
be
my
like the
Those
best
are
chairs in the
so
world.
good.
I know, but like gaming and typing at your office desk, they're two different things.
I wasn't really breaking down the chairs. I was mainly just looking at the team, where they played.
Yeah.
You know, like, he was like, the
I
shades
said the
and the
facility.
drapes really don't match.
Well,
do
you know,
they?
the first
Like,
thing
the
I
don't like the
suede's
colour.
totally off in the office here. They're going to have bad vibes.
First thing the chat does when he walks into our green room is like, we're going to have to reorganize
That
this.
is- yes,
We're going to
exactly
have
what
to
he
move
did.
these couches. I am not having it.
Right, bring in the catalogue. What have we got here?
They got some furniture here we could probably steal. This looks all right. Anyway,
Yeah, you can see over the couches there.
Dad's go to IKEA.
who they've obviously got Blame F. That's who they picked as
Yes,
like
yeah.
their driving force. And as somebody who plays a lot of Counter-Strike, and at least from forward facing, what he puts out there is he lives and breathes Counter-Strike, right?
Definitely.
So as that is your starting point, that's a very good place to be. You humbled Config somehow. I don't know what you did. Well, you wrote that article, but you humbled.
I'm like the school counsellor, like, with the dangerous kid from the project. So I got through to him, and I opened him up and found out inside he was just a wounded animal.
Those kids
Just
at my
looking
school,
for love.
Those kids at my school
Coach
just kick the teachers in the balls. So I'm surprised that you're able, because you've like turned Config into somebody now who's like, you know,
he's on the right path.
He wants to go back
Yeah.
in that because you think about it, when he was on the up and up, it was him and Magisk in that Dignitas team that were like they were the next
heavy hitters.
generation, right? Config hasn't done a lot since then, so now that he's in this project, it's looking pretty good. I think Obo is a youngster, which he's obviously got a lot of potential. We saw a little bit out of him at that Faceit event that they played there. We have Rush.
Yeah.
And then Poison. And Poison was doing...
I like the way he skipped straight over Rush there. I do the same thing. So, yeah, Poison. Let's go to Poison. Yeah.
No, because like people just like cite shit that happened 2 years ago. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Anyway, they talk about stuff that
Too late
happened
for that.
2 years ago. It's not 2 years anymore.
No.
Like
No,
we're talking
it's been a
about
long time.
in modern Counter-Strike, right? That's why like he can fill a role. I think he can be a good role player. But when he was at his absolute best, you look at when Optic won that event and Stan was in-game leading, and when they won that major, that was a team that everybody had the freedom in both occasions kind of to make plays. And they got a lot done on momentum in both of those tournaments if you compare them, right? So I think Counter-Strike now is different to what it was definitely 2 years ago. Everybody can do everything, and I think that like entry fraggers, especially people like Apex, they struggle a lot in today's modern Counter-Strike because you're either being forced from the team in a direction that is you are an old school entry fragger, which doesn't work anymore, right? So if he's still being pushed into those roles, then he's going to struggle as an individual because I think Counter-Strike you have to be much more adaptive now in every scenario. So I still put Rush in one of those, he's probably still tied to one of those hardcore roles. I want to see that change. I tried to watch as many of their matches as I could during the Katowice qualifiers and stuff. And it looked like they were very well regimented. They've done their dry runs, they've done their theory, they've done, all that. But now it comes down to how they're going to play Counter-Strike in the mid-rounds, which is, what separates the men from the boys these days.
Well, this actually plays into, I know it's obviously one of your kind of pet narratives, which is about the angle of like, can an international team, and especially like a very international team, this isn't even just like it doesn't count when like a Russian joins Na'Vi. That's the same thing basically. Yeah. But the reason why when you have a player from Denmark and then a player from, where's Poison One, Bulgaria or something? Yeah. Bulgaria with a player from Denmark, and USA, you're all over the place with this. So the problem they have is, I actually think their roster in terms of the players is underrated. They've got some decent pieces. Almost none of them, except Rush, who's playing a role, like you say, are really players you should give up on. They've all got potential. Yeah. They've all shown signs. Some of them are already there, or Config was, and he's trying to get back. Sure. The problem they have is, and also they've got a baseline that looks decent, but they're the team that emphasizes how much team players needed in Counter-Strike. Where's the chemistry? I don't blame them for not having it immediately. You're starting from all over the place, bringing people together. So if we see those teams, you get the rare examples that were amazing. The FaZe Clans of the world once upon a time.
They have a Kerrigan.
That's the problem as well.
Isn't that the linking? Yeah. Isn't that the link in all of these international
People
draws?
do ignore that. They always think, so you can just stack all the players with one of the best mid-round in-game leaders who call stuff on the fly of all time.
Yeah.
That's the dream guy to put with that. And even he couldn't make them win the major, mate.
Because I guess if we pivoted from there, right, he had FaZe, which FaZe have obviously struggled a lot since then, and they've had to go and rebuild and restructure. Now he's gone to Mouse Sports. And
he's proven his formula.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it has to be a big part Carrigan. I think you'd have to credit a huge amount of success to him as an individual, whereas you look at this complexity team, it's Blame F, who is a new name on the tip of everybody's tongue still, right, in the Counter-Strike world still, and he has picked up the in-game leadership role back when he was on Danish teams, not out of, choice. Well, maybe he chose to do it, but it was out of more like a necessity, we need an in-game leader. It wasn't, we have MSL and he's going to be a player. It was, we don't have Snappy anymore, we don't have this guy, we don't have that, and he picked up the in-game leadership mantle. So that for me is a curious one because it seems, I haven't had an opportunity to talk to him a lot personally. It seems like he has a lot of drive and motivation. And those kind of players, if he is going to stay focused like that and build on that, he obviously has the mental fortitude. Look at the guy. To go to the gym and to be built like how he is, you have to have some kind of, pushing you in the right direction. If he can put even a little bit of that into Counter-Strike, I think that, he can be a very potent player. In terms of in-game leadership, their coach is Keita.
Yes,
UK player.
Yeah, so and I know that he was helping out with some teams previously with Analyst.
He's always been involved with Analysis, so this is a nice step up for him.
So for both of those names, though, they're not of the same pedigree, as we're talking of like a character. So that's where they have a lot of proving to do, right? If they come out here and they show some unique strategies, or they're good in the mid-rounds, or we can hear their communication when, because this is quite an intimate setup out here, and it sounds like everything's cool and calm in it, they've done a great job, right? And then it's probably just time of building this team. But yeah, I'm excited to see complexity because obviously Jason Lake has a bunch of money behind this, and there's obviously
he made that abundantly clear.
A lot of expectation. So if this formula doesn't work, he picked a really good time, right? It was pretty dead towards the end of last year in terms of what they could attend. So they've just been grinding. And now that 2020's kicked off, this is where we need to see the fruits of that labor. So this is going to be a big tournament for them.
And the thing people miss with one of those teams is it's similar to what Ocelot tried to do in G2, which is by breaking the concept that we're going to just be French, and it's always like, right, who else is in the French scene? And you're looking around and it's like you keep recycling and come back. Yeah. Should I get Kiyoshima again? We already had that discussion 3 months ago. What about Kiyoshima? So instead of that, by breaking it and bringing in the guys from former Yugoslavia area. I think one of them technically is Serbian and Bosnian or something.
You need
I don't want to get into the whole politics.
Exactly.
But what I'll say is this. The part people missed is it doesn't matter if that G2 fails. It doesn't matter if this complexity 5-man fails, because now you've opened the concept that I can bring anyone in. So, okay, maybe Hunter, I mean, he actually is playing pretty well, but
really
maybe
good.
one of them isn't that good. So then you go and get an amazing player. Maybe it turns out Poison's the one who doesn't develop. The others do. Right, okay, we can keep the rest and bring anyone into the team. So that's where you want, actually, the international team, because then the amount of options you have, the amount you can flex in a different direction is huge.
Hasn't he made that abundantly clear, though, as well with his tweet? Where he's just
Yeah.
like, I mean, that's got to be an
For
interesting
me, that's
situation
why
for the players to be in, because
Sure.
your owner is saying, yeah, if you don't perform now, we've given you the time, we've given you the support, we've given you everything.
Of course.
And now if you don't perform, I've made it pretty clear that I've got the money to go and get one of the top tier guys as well.
But that's also what people, I think, missed as well. So everyone laughed at him like, ha, you call this a juggernaut? No, that was like an open offer. I even said, the line he missed is, he should have said, and by the way, it's an open offer. Because then the implication should be, if I don't have a juggernaut now, I'm getting one step closer. And if I don't have it tomorrow, I'll get another step. And then eventually, you know what, Nico, you'll be available and I'll have the money, and you'll be at it. And then I'll have the juggernaut, you know.
Yeah.
One
Players
day, I guarantee that quote, if he ever gets a great team, that'll be the beginning of like a sick documentary.
Yeah.
Everyone laughed at him, said he was, and then that'll be what he builds it.
Exactly.
Isn't it wild?
Look at this.
Isn't it wild that his hurdle, right, was getting people to move to North America?
That was the point.
What a hurdle! Like, that's how good everybody
And
else
to
in the rest
move
of the world
to
has it.
Dallas as well. Dallas
Hey,
is popping off
It's
right now.
hot out there, man. Some people can't handle the heat.
AC, you never heard of that before?
Oh, here's the FaZe clan. They've been boot camping. They're off in Belgrade, right? I think Yankees.
They were there, yeah. They were there for a bit.
So look, these guys here, they qualified for Katowice on the online qualifier, start of the year. It wasn't too bad, way to kick things off. And if they've been practicing since that, they've definitely made this like a big priority, right? And I think what people maybe who are tuning in now and they don't understand this isn't like the other Blast events where you come, you play the tournament and you result and then you go on and then that doesn't matter anymore. What you do right now, if you're FaZe, if you can come top 2 right here and you can, get yourself a spot in those finals, then you're going to mean you don't have to come back, you don't have to play that showdown situation. You're going to save yourself another tournament where you can be focusing and doing a bit more practice, right? And that's what you hear from all these teams and all these individuals is we don't have enough time to practice. Well, now with a lot more, let's be honest, none of these things, not all the formats are public right now, but none of these leagues that we've had running for the last couple of years anyway have ever really been run like leagues. Nobody liked it when it was best of 2s. Nobody liked it when it was best of 1 round robins and stuff, right? These aren't traditional leagues. These are situations where you come, you qualify for the big boys part of the tournament, and you can technically buy yourself a lot of time off to practice more and have more focus elsewhere.
Exactly.
Have more home time where you can spend time with your girlfriend, with your family, whatever, and then you can still practice a normal job a day. Because this is the cool thing about Counter-Strike, you can work from home. So this is why I think FaZe have put a lot of prep into this one, and I think you want to come out real strong, right? This year, when Nostralis is the top dog, Liquid and EG are there, the rest of these teams they need to come out real strong early and you want to make a stake for yourself here, because I know it's a bad thing to have a target on your back. But I think that the way that Counter-Strike is moving at the moment is if you can be considered a top 10 team on a consistent basis, that's who we consider the elite now.
Yeah.
It never used to be so deep. I know we used to have discussions about this all the time. We're like, the top 3, the top 4, they're looking pretty good, but the rest of them are pretty rubbish. Now the top 10 is really quite strong. Sure. And I think if you can cement yourself with some good showings early and you can keep yourself in that, because I think there's still a bit of room for movement in there. But, I think FaZe are going to be looking hot.
With FaZe, though, Chad, right? So to look at, since Brokey came in being the young player, he's been obviously killing it. But do you think they still got an in-game leader problem that needs to be solved?
I think it's been mitigated a little bit with Coldzera because of how much he used to have to help with Fallen. Well, not used to have to help, how much it was said that he helps with Fallen. Mm-hmm. So having him and Nico maybe do it. Well, Olaf as well would have been a player making a lot of calls back in Fnatic Day. So I don't think it's a huge drama.
I'm not buying it. I think FaZe is garbage.
Yeah?
The only reason they even have any status, any ranking, is because of the old system in Blast, where it was all the best of 1s and you had to win 1 best of 3, and they did it a couple of times. That's how they actually, if people forget, at the circuit points, they were number 1 in the Blast Tour last year.
They won Miami, right?
And then they won right towards the end. What was it, Copenhagen or something?
Yeah, so they won right 2 of them.
But you look who they played. They played Team Liquid when they used to choke in the finals, and they played NiP, because bizarrely them and NiP were the ones who made the final, even though the Astralis of the world were there but lost the best of 1s. So my problem with FaZe Clan is this: like, if it was a different set of players, if they had just a bunch of good, if they had like crazy level players, like FPL players, I'd be like, yeah, cool, run the little experiment. What I hate is, like, when I was watching those highlights there, when we got to the end of the year and people were figuring out who are the top 10 players of the year, nobody even considered putting Nico as one of the top players, right? No one was saying Nico could be 3rd or 2nd. And the only reason why, when you look back, it's nothing to do with his level player. Go watch him. He was still amazing, but he was literally bottlenecked by his team. His team barely ever made a final of a different tournament than Blast. His team never really won titles. They were always in situations where when they had a bad tournament, they get blown out as well. They get humiliated by a Team Liquid or someone. So as a result, you never saw the guys, he never got a chance to shine.
Yeah.
Now, some of that's his fault. He's the in-game leader. He was responsible for Carrigan getting kicked, but I hate it whenever there's a really great player who's kind of like caged for a while. So I want to see him be one of the best players. He should be in this conversation with Simple, Zwu, Devi. It should be like 5 players right now, all going head to head. We should have the best era ever of the super carries, basically.
Yeah, I'm probably going to give them a little bit more slack for like this tournament right here, because they've had a lot of time to practice. They come here and they just choke and they don't put up any performance, then yeah, I'm all with you in that sense. But I think from when Coldzera joined, how difficult that contract negotiation would have been behind the scenes, because MIBR, you don't want to let go of a piece like that. And if you are, you're going to milk as much money out of it as humanly possible. That happened in like the middle of the season, right? Like it was, well, but it was more the start of the second half of last year that kind of all went down, if I'm remembering rightly. Yeah. So you have to hit the ground running in that regard, right? Whereas now they've had a little bit of, they had some downtime over the holidays. We saw them all on the Instagram and stuff, hanging out in Brazil or wherever they were, right, doing all that kind of stuff. They've had their downtime. They've had the mental reset. They've been boot camping. They've already qualified for Katowice. I saw what the confidence of them winning Copenhagen did for the team. Now, if they can have all that and they put all the, because they have the players, right? They have the players. They don't have the traditional in-game leader, but they have the players in terms of firepower, and it should be good. Give them this. I'll say, look, if you can come out here and you can get a top 2 off the bat here, then yeah, we could be heading in the right direction.
When you say that, though, all of that has to end somewhere. So what, they're going to be the 3rd best team in the world or something?
That's the thing. I was going to say, do I think that they will consistently beat the likes of like EG, Liquid, and Astralis? Probably not. But can they hang in there within like the top 5 and be fighting for that against like a Mouse Sports or, you know, someone like a Fnatic, 100 Thieves? Then yeah. I don't think that they will be like. It's really difficult to see anybody on Astralis' level at the moment.
Here's my prediction: FaZe will be the 8th best team in the world. That is all they will be. They'll have the odd tournament where they have a little run because they've got the bangers to go off in a game, of course. Okay. They'll have a tournament where they make a final or they'll make a semi-final, but then they'll have tournaments where they come 9th to 16th or whatever it is. You know, whatever the placing is without scenario. So, especially in a world where it's all best of 3s in most of the formats now, there isn't those best of 1s where you can just have one brilliant day. You get a couple of games going. I think a team like that, the IGL aspect will become the major factor, because that's another factor you can look at the top 10 with and you can ask questions is, at the moment, IGLs have an incredible value in this game. Almost every great team at the moment has like a legendary IG, not even just a good one, like some guy who's been around for years, who's won a major or has done all sorts. There's very few teams at the top there. That's why I give a lot of credit to Azar, actually, because he doesn't have that status yet. His team's not knocking on the door there. So I don't think you can get past that with FaZe. We've already seen, even having the best fraggers in the world, you still need that piece, I believe, to actually enter the elite status.
I think like what is curious here, right, is because like we're talking about whether or not they will be, like it really depends on where you set that bar, right? Do we think this FaZe roster will be the best team in the world consistently for a 3-month period? No.
You should be if you have Nico and Coldzera.
I know, right? But like if we're gonna look at the landscape right now, what we know from everything that we learned in that after that whole fiasco that happened with Astralis earlier in last year, they were the team.
He was trying not to say the word there, the forbidden Voldemort type name. It's all right, I invented it, so yeah, I give you permission.
We had ourselves a situation where we went almost back to regular programming, right? Like they lost that New York final to EG. They had a couple of hiccups, but then in terms of the way that they were applying themselves in game, role for role, pound for pound, as far as traditional Counter-Strike and fundamentals and everything we love, nobody is anywhere near Astralis, right? Like, I was just like sitting at home bored, which is basically my life, and I was going through like all the stats of these teams over periods of their rosters and looking at like the breakdown of kills. Like, and I was going through them a bunch of the high-level teams about the AWP frags, right? A lot of these teams, the Liquids of the worlds, the Phases of the worlds, they all share the AWPing duties. I'm doing these pie charts because I'm pretending I'm in school or something, and it's breaking up, and it looks like there's 3 main AWPers. You do it, I'll see if I have them hanging around somewhere, but you do it for a team like Astralis. Device had something like, something ridiculous.
Probably like 80% of the AWP flags is what I'm going to guess.
Huge, right? And then I think the next one was Dupree, and then it was maybe Glaive or something, but it was little, they had little slivers, right? So Astralis is the most fundamentally sound team, and that's why they can pivot the most. I think that's why they can. Oh dear, Duncan, stay between the two of them, all right? If any punches get thrown here, g'day, man.
Listen, I'm the neutral party now.
Isn't that
For once?
No, it's the time I get wrecked.
No,
he's the one getting wrecked. What are you talking about? He's got all the Brazilian
You
fans.
see that tweet I did earlier? My whole Twitter's just been blowing up nonstop.
They love you.
You have seen that before,
It's great.
right?
Yeah, I've seen that before. Listen,
I
that's my
showed
world.
him.
Yeah.
He's the first one. I'm like, dude, Duncan, here I'm on the ride
He merely
now.
adopted the Brazilian flame. I was born in it. Exactly.
Forged.
The only question is, right, you know the rules of banter. When you say one thing, the other person thinks, is there something funny I can connect to what they said, right? The problem is when you say to him, like, we're one of the most dedicated teams, we're practicing all the time, the obvious rebuttal is, well, why are you rubbish then?
That's a good one, Tori. But I have seen you done better. You have done better in the past.
You know.
Well, being rubbish is a matter of a lot of things involved in that.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And I think what I tweeted out, it was more about what I wanted to say and how I felt than what he said, because what Samuel said is basically what a lot of people say.
You thought he was like,
so
it was
it's
like
more
a
about me
sentiment that
than
a lot
you.
of people
So I
thought.
apologize for
But
that.
that's all I took away from it as well. That's why I didn't answer, because I'm just like,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah, it's more about me than about
real.
you.
This isn't bullshit. Like, this is bullshit. This isn't real.
And
it's
then
fine.
basically, a lot of people sometimes they come and say some things like, those guys don't really want to win anymore. Like,
yeah, of course.
Because they think it's easy. Like, those guys wanted before, they got it. So if they want again, they can do it again. But they don't want because now they have money or now they have something.
No, the problem you guys have until you win the championship again is everyone think it's big. Here's your problem is when you came up, it was like a movie. The story was like, you know, they were grinding, they moved to another country even to do it. They were sleeping.
It's beautiful.
It's like a brilliant.
It's like a Rocky story.
They were even sharing, like, two people had to stay in one bed because they didn't even have enough room. So the problem is then when you win the championships and now you've got the brilliant lifestyle, people want to spin it the other way and make it like, oh, now it's too much money and they don't care about the game.
But that's what I want to say.
think,
Like,
yeah.
it's easy to think that, but we have been working hard for a long time. And of course, there is periods of time where there's been some slackness because that happens to everyone.
Sure.
Even you guys as casters, sometimes you're going to say, hey, I could be doing more here or there.
Sure.
That's natural. But then it was more about me wanting to say something. I tweeted, I had my answer there on Twitter. And I was like, should I post it or not? Because I knew somehow I was a little, bit wrong.
You can do that? I wasn't even aware. You
can think about tweeting out, right?
Just tweet.
Yeah,
No. What I mean is I had it right and I was like, should I post it? Because there is some things I want to say that is inside me and I want to pull it out, but at the same time, it might create a reaction that's not really fair to him because we are friends. We have been out in the tournaments together, and
that's true.
You know. But in the end, I was like, I'm gonna do it. Like it's inside me. It's gonna make me feel bad, so I'm gonna tweet it out. So I apologize if it creates some bad aspects in that regard.
You know it.
But it's all right. And what I wanted to say is never doubt our hard work because it's there. The passion is there. I didn't get to this point by playing for money. You guys know in Brazil was much worse than the other region. Like we played for a sandwich, we played for getting your bus ticket back home. So that was never the point, and it's still not the point for us. And when I see people, not you in this case, but a lot of Mad fans will come, hey, this guy has everything now. He doesn't need to play, or he's gonna fulfill, not gonna do everything he has to do, and it's just a lie because I work hard.
And that doesn't even make sense anyway, because here's the thing. If you actually know anything about rich people, millionaires just look at billionaires like, how do I get to that level? So it doesn't matter that he's got like the Rolex, you know, he's got the nice shoe. He wants a mansion, he wants a pool, he wants his own
not real.
gaming club.
To be honest, it would be much easier for me just to go home and stream. I can make money as well.
Yeah.
If I go home and I keep streaming, it's going to be much easier for me. I'm going to be very close to my family. I'm going to be close to my girlfriend. I'm going to do everything whenever I want.
That's kind of you to let Gowler still have a career.
That's a good one. Just kidding. Gaules is a god.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
But so it seems like we take the easy path, but the easy path is giving up. The easy path is
of course.
is doing something else, you know. And we want to try to be the best thing again, and it's hard. A lot of players nowadays, a lot of the young guys, they come in. Those guys are living what we live in the past. Like this is the only thing they do in life, so it's much easier for them to even play more than us. So we have to do it all over again, and it's harder when you get older.
Yeah, well, I think like people don't really understand what you as an individual have built, right? Like obviously what you did in Counter-Strike, and like I remember when you guys, like we're talking that 2015, 2016 period of time, right? you're like, well, man, more so the 2016 stuff. The mid-round Counter-Strike that you guys were playing and the way that you guys were doing theory work was above and beyond anybody else at that time. That was one of the things that I admired the most with you guys. But then at that same time, you had the weight of the entire country on your back, right, as a team, because then there was just you guys. Obviously, you had the Gamers Academy guys and all that kind of stuff, but you guys were the ones leading the way, and all that time. This is why I don't know how you do everything you do, because I follow you on all the social media stuff. I'm like, how the hell has Fallen have time in the day to do all these things? You have built like an empire around being one of the best Counter-Strike players ever to touch, well, in-game leaders to touch the game, one of the, the most exciting AWPers, all this stuff. You've literally built an empire. Like the stuff, you have your own gaming brand, all these kind of bits and pieces. I think people have to realize here, you're obviously doing, everybody lives their life, right, for themselves in the sense of, you want to make sure that you live a comfortable life. Not only has he done that, he's brought to his scene, he was running things for his countrymen to give them opportunities to get to compete, still competing, and then building all his own businesses. Jesus Christ. Like what you've done, right?
So are you just trying to back up my argument?
No, I'm saying what Fallen's done.
Where are you going with this, Sponge?
Because he did all this while still competing at the top, right? He was already doing a lot of things while competing at the top. So like the argument then, right, of saying, of course, we all know when we get paid for something, right? When I got paid to start playing Counter-Strike, it changed. It wasn't the same level of like obsession and joy. It became like I wake up and I have to do this every day, right? Like when it comes,
it becomes a job at some point.
Yeah, right. And that switch is going to happen with everybody here. But I think what people forget is, and this is the point I'm trying to make here, is that Fallen was doing that while still being one of the best Counter-Strike players in the world. We're going back a couple of years now. He was still already building all this stuff. He was still already super busy, right? He was still already doing all these other bits and pieces.
Well, what do you think about this, Fallen?
Well, basically, that's something I have been putting some thought recently. And what happened is I never wanted only to play. Like, I don't see myself only putting time into playing. And when I say playing is basically if I go deathmatch, why not go deathmatch and stream it? Like, it's both.
Sure.
I can do both. If I do both, why don't I make a video as well? So I show some people how it goes and I get people to follow me more and more. So I try to combine things that make sense and I have pleasure doing it. So basically in 2015 and 16, I would go for tournaments. I would record my own vlogs. I would edit my own vlogs. I would play the tournament and I would win the tournaments. So I had much fun doing it and people would say, hey, how can you do it? And I say, I like it.
Also,
for me, it's a pleasure. Like it's not work. I go back to my hotel room 8 to 10 p.m. instead of going watch some series, I'm going to edit my videos. And then I'm going to be able to see the comments later. I'm going to be able to get more fans and share what is this passion, what is being a Counter-Strike player to everyone. And that's going to help the entire ecosystem because a lot of people are going to be like me or they're going to share the same goals or they're going to live the same passion and share the same dreams, So I always wanted to do that. But then it's something that happens into teams. You start winning and then you start losing later, and some of people might think, hey, this guy's not putting the same effort. But I got there doing that. That's what moves me along. That's what gives me the power.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed to me, but we're losing now. But now suddenly you have to stop doing that. And I start feeling that people were feeling that I was putting effort into something that was not helpful towards winning. And then I kind of lost motivation to keep doing it at all power that I was doing before, at the same level. So I started dropping slowly. And then gaming wasn't just as fun for me anymore because it was never only about playing for me because I needed that connection. I'm a guy who really enjoys when I can share stuff I do, because I like it. I don't know. I can't really give it much explanation, but I feel when I do a stream and I play FPL game and I have fun, if people are watching it, I have more fun. So it's even better. I like it more. So when I stopped doing all those things, it suddenly starts being a little bit more depressive for me in that sense because I didn't have the same amount of fun as I had before. So I started doing less and less in 2017, a little bit less in 2018. And then before this last year, like 2019, I was like, 2020, I'm going to try to be myself again. Like, doesn't matter if I win or not, I'm going to do the same thing I like to do before.
Are you doing the blogs again?
So the vlogs is something I'm going slow.
Yeah.
Because nowadays you have the daily Instagrams, like the stories itself. So I started with the stories because it's easier.
Yeah.
Then I was trying to make sure, and I stopped already. So it's hard to continue doing it. But for the first 3 weeks of January, I was like posting every day how my day was going, and I was having fun doing it. But then this schedule is hard. When I go for practice, I start at 10 a.m. I stop at 9 p.m. and sometimes it's non-stoppable, like only for eating and stuff like that. So sometimes I lose energy to do all those things. And then after a week, I look back and I say, I didn't really do the stuff I wanted at all on that regard, but it's fine because we're in a boot camp and I'm totally focused on Counter-Strike at that moment, but it's fine. But I want to get back to it. So for me, it's always trying to find this balance, and it's what makes me going forward and I have pleasure doing it. So when people look that way and they say, this guy's not focused. How is he selling stuff? How is he has a store in Brazil? How he has his own brand and how he has only to be videos? He can play CS. And I'm like, it's actually the opposite. Because I have all those, I'm going to play even more CS, and that's what's driving me forward. So that's the way I think, you know.
I think one thing that, like, my playing career wasn't very long and I wasn't very good. But something that I want to point out here is when we made the transition from Vox Eminent to Renegades and we moved, right, and things weren't going well, as somebody who, because I'm sure you look at it the same way as I do, when there's problems, you want to try and fix them, right? When you're in the situation where you're going from event to event and you're trying to fix problems while traveling around between tournaments and maybe there's not enough time to practice or there is enough time to practice and you re-go over everything, it's so difficult when there's, because Counter-Strike doesn't really stop. This is the longest break period I think we've had in quite some time, actually.
The last 4 years for sure.
Yeah. And that's like an actual chance to reevaluate. If you don't get a chance to reevaluate, and because you're reacting off of the problem that you're seeing, now that might not be the cause of the issue. There could be a different cause. There could be another issue. If you don't get a chance to stop and actually look at it, you're going to find yourself in a pretty miserable position. And that's like what happened to me. I didn't know. Now that I have all the knowledge I have now, I go, oh, we should have done it this way. I should have been a leader like this. I should have done that. But as you're in the thick of it, because this is new for everybody, right? This whole thing is new for everybody still. We've been doing Counter-Strike for a long time, but we're all learning. And we all started as kids, right? We all started as like teenagers and stuff growing up through this. We're all learning as we go. Now we're finally getting people coming and giving us advice on, you know, hey, we've done this in traditional sports, this works, that doesn't work. But that's only happening in the last, you know, couple of years. That's not something that's been around for a long period of time. So we're all kind of learning as we go here. It's a weird environment.
Listen, I've given everyone a lot of room on this one. I've let you flesh it out. I think this topic's boring. I want to talk about Counter-Strike. So here's what I want to ask, right? Is one thing I've noticed in Counter-Strike as to why teams go to the top and then they don't just become like number 2, number 3. Sometimes they drop way off and they go down, they have to rebuild. Is when you get to the top, certain things you did, your formula to become successful, until you realize that it doesn't work anymore. You try and just keep repeating it, or you try and just tweak it a little bit. And so one of the mistakes people can make, just look at Nip at the beginning of the game, is you just keep the same players. You think, right, we can change the roles. Virtus.pro did this a lot, you know, but never change the players though, because these are the players that got us to the top. So sometimes I think, like with Carrigan and FaZe, even if separately Carrigan's a brilliant in-game leader, as players, Nico and the others are brilliant players. Eventually, like, it runs its course. You have to break apart sometimes. Someone has to go elsewhere. So I think that core of you, Fur and Coldzera that were there the whole time, I think something had to change. Whether someone was going to retire, whether Coldzera wanted to go somewhere else, you have to reinvent the team, right? You can't just keep trying to do like a better version of what we did in the past always.
Yeah, basically, I think we played a very fundamental CS most of the time. And when we added the Americans to the lineup, they had a whole different concept of how to play the games and some fundamentals that we had straight on. Like, you don't play a 2v1 by yourself.
Yes.
You basically don't push for a second frag with the 5-4. You know, like, we have this fundamental CS going on for us for a whole time. And it suits well CS before 2017 because people were not so aggressive. People would not go for much information on CT side. So it made sense. It made the game was easy to read. So it all made sense. And when the game starts evolving, people start getting more aggressive, and then suddenly the map control you got, they're going to challenge it. So suddenly you're going to lose a player or you're going to lose the map control you thought you had. So the game changed a lot. And basically all the fundamentals we had, they were not perfect anymore for the actual game that was being played. And then we got new players, got new American players, and they have different styles. And suddenly we start doubting ourselves about all the fundamentals we had. Like, and even the good ones, because it's not that the game changed on a point where all the fundamentals now are wrong. It's like 20% of them has to be changed somehow, but the rest is still pretty good. But what happened is we start losing a little bit, and then those players would question, hey, you guys are still a little bit outdated on that point. So we start, are we thinking wrong about everything? And then suddenly we didn't have any fundamentals at all. I thought at some point our team lost a little bit of the strong fundamentals we had, just gone. So the way I see it, the easier way to explain for CS players is CT side, for example. When you hit the bottom on that regard, on fundamental regard, you have 3 players holding A Inferno, 2 players holding B. You have no confidence they're going to hold, so you have to put the 4th player on A or you have to put the 3rd player on B. You never trust those 2 guys are going to be able to do their job. So you always think, hey, it's a new meta, it's a new Counter-Strike, you have to be gambling, you have to be finding it. So you start playing in a way where you're always taking those small risks, but they're not smart. They come from fear. They come from not confidence, for not having the confidence. And then it's just smart decisions, it's not weak decisions. And then in the end, everyone is playing one weak game. So in the end, there's no strong fundamental thing. So the game changed a lot, and people start trying to do better and do more than they should have done, and then it's all weak. So that's what I felt it happened to our game, and that's what we're trying to reinvent for this year. So we're going back to a little bit of the fundamentals we had, making sure that the good things are still good things and learning the new ones. So that's what we're trying to do.
That's the follow-up, right? That's where we go with this, because I've been told recently that you guys are practicing a lot. So how has the practice been going? How has been the preparation?
You made a joke about that too, right? We have been practicing a lot. So basically, that's another topic we also try to change in 2020, because the way we practice, even after we changed tackle, we for decline, it's too much quantity and not much quality, in my opinion. Because we have always been a very strategic team. We always like to understand well the game. It's not about killing the other guys. It's about really understanding where and when we're going to do the actions. And basically, when we play too many games, you don't extract too many from them. So let's say we play 6 maps a day. 5th and 6th map are basically
waste of time.
Waste of time.
Yep.
You're not going to get much from it. So for 2020, we start first 2 weeks playing only 4 maps, and we're going to watch all the maps. So every time we play a map, we watch it. We play a game, we watch it. So you start feeling the progression. You start feeling better about it. It's only 4 maps, but you watch all of them. So this is making our lives a little bit easier, and we're getting more from the practice. But as it starts rolling in, you don't want to stay with only 4 maps as well. We start adding a 5th one. We try to add the 6th one. It's impossible. Like
yes,
you're mentally gone for the 6th one. If you really play the 4 ones how you should play, you can't play the 6 maps a day. And that's even a conversation for 2 BO3s on the same tournament. It's really hard. And I have lost tournaments because of it. Of course, because of my opponent as well.
Best of 5 final
even majors,
well, right?
I had to play. I have one team that has to play 2 BO3 on the same day. Dude, if I have the same situation nowadays, I would say, hey, I'm not even going to play it. Because it's not really fair. Now I can see it. At the time, I would say, no, it's fine. We can take it. Like, we're a good team. We're the best team in the world. We can take 2. No, it's really tough. Like, you're not going to be the same level.
Well, you can watch a lot of this when it comes to like the UFC or whatever. They do the behind the scenes and how their boot camps go, and then leading up to the event, and then they start imitating the event. Is that something that you guys do with your boot camps, with your practice right now? It's like the closer you get to an event, it's like, okay, we're going to try to do 2 best-of-3s a day because that might happen to us in the event.
Yeah,
so we should be ready
that.
for that.
Yeah.
Or is it like, oh, we're only doing best-of-1s, so we're only going to do best-of-1 format for our practice so that we're getting in that space? Is that something you guys have tried?
It's something we discussed, but it's really tough to really prepare yourself. And also because in a tournament, you're going to be more focused because it's a tournament. On practice, even if as much as you want to push it, like it's not a tournament. So mentally, you're not going to come to the same level, even if you try to, as much as you can.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to really reproduce it, but it's something for. But everyone in CS knows that it's not properly to play 2 BO3s in the same day nowadays, which is good for the scene.
Yeah, I remember talking to LMBT a couple of years ago, and he was like, when he was coaching Mouse, he was like, yeah, we prac 5 maps because the most we can ever play is a best-of-5 grand final, right? So that's the most maps they would do in a day in terms of actual scrims.
Okay.
He may have updated that from his coaching position since then, but I remember him telling me that. I'm curious about what you make of Counter-Strike at the moment, right? With the economy changes, with the Krieg, obviously.
Definitely.
Can we get there?
No, yeah, we can get there. Let's just have that be the last question because I know, Fallen, you're going to come back and we're going to have more time to talk with you later. I don't want to just hog you right now. Yeah, exactly.
Mainly on Twitter. That was a good one, no?
Yeah, we love it. We love it. All right, but yeah, sorry, Chad. Let's do that one and then we'll get James back in.
Yeah, what do you make of current Counter-Strike? The way it is at the moment.
I think it's great.
Yeah?
I'm not winning, but it's great.
Really? Wait,
Yeah,
you don't have a problem with the economy changes or anything like that?
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
I think it's a fair game. I think the Krieg is still a little bit overpowered, but
should it be more expensive or nerf or change some of the
I think when you go very far distance, it shouldn't be one shot anymore.
Okay.
You know, like it's too OP. Even when the CTs get it, the game's changed completely. So like Train, for example, you get a Krieger holding a side, one shot from Ivy towards mid entrance, like it's too much. Like I think it's too much.
Okay.
That's fair. Cool. That's fair. All right. Well, Fallen, like I said, you're going to be joining us again later, so I don't want to hog all your time.
Sounds good.
We'll get James back in.
All right, you won the fight, Simulator, right? You won the fight.
There was no fight to begin with.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, Matt.
Take care, man.
Right, cheers.
See you guys.
And
we got James back.
Yeah. James, thanks for
you survived.
being patient.
Now that he's not here, we can actually talk about some other topics about MIBR that don't involve him. Because there's one angle, right, that we couldn't bring up there. I mean, to be fair, he was giving me his life story, so I didn't have a chance to get in.
Someone shut you up. It happens every now and again.
If they're just boring, yeah, I can't say that. So anyway, he thought it was one of his vlogs. He got to in the vlog in. He thought, I was like, guys, earlier today I was having a vegan salad, or was it an egg salad? Anyway, get that out of the way. What I was going to say is this. You also have to realise one of Fallen's strengths over his career is you notice he recycled a lot of the talent that was within the Brazilian scene. He had them all before
Bolt,
everyone else had
Steel.
them. And if he ever brought them back, it's because he actually saw something later that was good, right? So an eye for talent that he has is very, very good. You've seen he's almost never made, for the first 3 or 4 years, the wrong choice once he's had a chance to see that player, right?
Yeah.
He picks the right one next. The last year and a half, every report you've seen from credible journalists of I'm targeting this player, I want this player, he hasn't got any of them. He even lost Coldzera in the meantime.
Yeah.
He had to literally get someone now that wasn't even on anyone's radar.
Yeah,
and part of the reason why is the business has changed in that sense. Like, you know, we have that moniker from the godfather of Brazilian CS. It's almost like that. If he tells someone, you come here, you join the MIBR now. They do. They would just come.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that doesn't happen. Like, the business means actually he's not getting those players. Like, imagine this. Imagine when Astralis had to get rid of Kirby. He'd left the team, right? Imagine if they couldn't have gotten Magisk and Config wasn't even available. And then you couldn't even have gotten, I don't know, Valde. In fact, you had to go all the way down and get someone who now is in Mad Lions. You had to take him, and then everyone says to you, Glaive, you're a loser, mate. You can't even win anymore. Look at you. What do you do? Why do you do what you used to do back in the day? Or imagine more recently when they had to... So FaZe Clan was able to buy Coldzera. Imagine they had to get 2 players like Brocky and put in their team. And then people are judging them against FaZe Clan that almost had an era. Like, it's real tough to do. Like, the hardest thing in the game, in my opinion, scouting talent's one thing. Winning with the talent, you got another thing. Taking talent you know is good, but then reconfiguring it, and like what Carrigan just did in Mouse Sports, that is a miracle to me. How he took a team that he'd already played like 1 million maps, 1 million best of threes, tons of tournaments, and then eventually he said, this doesn't work, but I don't want to kick someone yet, so I'm going to do this one shit. I'm going to change this role here and this, that. Boom, that was it.
Yeah.
That was actually the one little tweak he needed, and it changed everything, because the knock-on effect can be huge.
And the beautiful part of what Carrigan did for Mouse Sports is when you're talking to the players, even they feel like they have more of a role and a say in what's going on, and they feel a lot more kind of like confident in the decisions he's making. And having that confidence in in-game leader, how many teams are affected by not that?
That right there is the key point, and I think that was his undoing in FaZe, is, you know, when you get to these finals, you get to these crunch matches, and then you make a bad call, or you start, and then, like, that face at Major, where I could stand right there and hear the teams communicating through a banner like what we have behind us here, and I could hear Nico calling every round. And I made that tweet then during that face at Major, thinking, you know, this is a possibility this could be going on. But that right there, that echoes that if you're an in-game leader like a Carrigan, you're a hardcore, you're a ride or die in-game leader, and people start telling you to, I obviously don't know exactly what they said, but they take your role, and when you're an in-game leader like that, you actually, when your call goes right, you get confidence. Then you make another good call, and it keeps building. And then you individually start making plays. And then we see him like he's in Mouse now. He's pushing Banana. He's going for these entry frags. He's finding gaps. And then the Ropses and Frozens and Woxics of the world, like, he's just made us so much room. He's just given us this much information because he has to be fantastic at communication, being a leader. And then they can just come in and play their little, you know, nerdy current day Counter-Strike.
It's when I was speaking to Woxic, he's the person who was merely like super positive on this, because he said the whole time he was on Hellraisers, he felt like he was hindered and was not able to kind of let off and play that. Oh, you know, he likes to get super hyper aggressive and be out there taking shots. And he says sometimes Carrigan will just say to him, do what you want.
Yeah, just go kill people.
Just go and do your thing. And for someone like him, that's the perfect freedom you need to give to him, because he does have those games where he just shut people down. Is that mad one on Nuke where he took him to overtime?
Oh, that was ridiculous.
And it was just Woxic every single time. Bomb, bomb, bomb. And you're then giving players confidence outside of the game that translates inside the game as well, which is huge.
We might need to get like a new name for some of these players like Carrigan, because there's a couple of them left. Like they need to be like a tribe or something, like the last wide swingers, because no one wide swings anymore, right? Everything's a jiggle pig, this, a jump, that. You got some of the older boys, still wide swingers.
The
you know,
white boys.
Yeah. We definitely need something for them.
That's suitable. We're in London. That works.
There you go.
Yes, but look, if we just circle back to MIBR for a second, I think the most disappointing factor for me...
Last of the swingers. Thing is, he really knows how to get a group involved in what he wants to do. And he gets something from this guy, gets something from this guy, he's watching this guy.
Oh, dear.
There we go.
Semler, quick.
No, where does this go? Where does this go? Chad, finish your point, man.
That's what he's probably saying.
They flip...
Where does this go? Where does this go?
They've flip-flopped on this main AWP role already since Kanji's joined, right? Kanji came in, Fallen took more of a back seat. It wasn't working. Now Fallen's taken back primary AWPing. So that dynamic right there is the one that I want to see flushed out, because KNG should be the most exciting prospect in this team in terms of what he was able to deliver when he was on INTZ and when they were in the grand final of the Katowice, the Krakow Major. the PGL one, right?
Yes.
Like him and Henny were like combat AWPing fantastically. They were very now Counter-Strike once again. You say it keeps changing, but him as a player is very exciting for me. And if he can get activated, or we've got him activated, you know, Fur is always going to get his. He's that type of guy. And Fallen can be consistent on the AWP. Now we start talking. You know, now we actually have a picture to work with here. At the moment, we haven't seen a lot. Still struggles on Inferno. Still picking Inferno.
Well, first of all, I thought that was one thing I did think was hilarious. That when he gave the example of fundamentals breaking down on CT side, he just went with Inferno immediately. Like,
one of their biggest
when you have the
struggles,
3 people on there that are really good, like Coldzera in the pit, but you can't trust those 2 people that I put in B. I mean, whoever's playing in B at that time, and, you know, you can't. You just wait in a rotate. I was like, interesting example there. Hypothetical was still falling. No, but here's the thing. I'll tie that in. I actually feel like that's part of what the struggle is, because you notice his whole mindset still is like, we've got to be one of the most fundamentally sound teams. If you've got KNG, you've got Fur, you've got a brand new player in mid. At this point in time, and Fall himself's a very good player. Like, I don't think you want to be playing basic Counter-Strike. I don't think you want to embrace the chaos. You want to have a high up tempo. You want to be more like the Immortals of KNG, as you say.
But then you've got to reinvent the wheel in a little way, right?
Sure.
Because you look at Counter-Strike at the moment across the top dogs, they all have that gear, but they're not built on that, right? Like, Astralis are the most fundamentally sound. Daps, when he had control of NRG, they were fundamentally sound, but he was using his individuals more than he was using their fundamentals towards his talent. Now that Stan's taken over, he's further this way, obviously more about plays and all that kind of stuff. Liquid is a team built on these individuals who can they're fundamentally sound, but the way that team can multi-frag at any given moment, fantastic. Nobody right now is playing like a hyper-aggressive style of CS, and it's something that, you know, if you're struggling like MIBR, why not even at least try dabbling with? Because what have you got to lose, realistically, right? Like, if you have a crack, you come up with some really hyper-aggressive moves, you have to think a lot of these maps, a lot of stuff's already been flushed out and it's not going to work anyway. But maybe something that's going to catch them off guard. I don't even know what that could be in 2020 anymore. Like, it's so difficult now with the amount of research going into the game is being looked at like never before, right? Like, that's why teams are having a hard time, right? That's why they're having a hard time, because the game, your tendencies now. I watched a bunch of there was a matchup, I think it was like Pro League or something, I forget the tournament. It's going to be FaZe versus MIBR, and I thought they were definitely going to play Dust 2, right? Like, I was like, I feel like Dust. So I watched so many demos on Dust 2. Brokey, for example, would play the same position every single round on B. He would go straight to that car position, right? Now, this is just one example. I watched a bunch of demos. I'm not doing as much work as that we're talking about the analysts for teams who know their matchups. They're going much deeper than I am. Within the space of watching this, Brokey would always go, he'd always throw the Molotov. That's how he would stop a rush. And then Coldzera would rotate late and come through window and back him up. That was how they worked on B. I compared that to the way MIBR did it. Taco would go and throw a smoke, and his rotated could be late because they would have more mid presence. If Taco gets run over because he throws a smoke at toilet, that's tendencies right there. I did that within the space of an hour, and using one of these programs that I can like scrub through and look at that. That is being done by everybody with teams of people to give them this information. With that information on board, the game has become so much harder. And that's why when I asked Fallen just then, does he feel like how the game is at the moment, I think what I look at as the biggest change here in Counter-Strike now with the money system, every round being able to be a gun round, because you never get an off round, because you're never granted really any round where you can make a mistake. Every round now, you need to be so super hyper-focused on every single decision you make. I think that is a thing. People don't get a gimme round here and there anymore. That doesn't happen. We're seeing eco rounds, like pistol upgrade rounds, they're just as winnable as a full gun round these days. It's insane. So I think that the mental fortitude and pressure in a game now that most of these games are going 30 rounds, you know, we're talking so much more Counter-Strike playing with that constant focus. I think that Counter-Strike is less...
It's less of a sprint and more of a marathon now, or what?
Well, it's less exciting in the curves of a game, in like the importance of like a round and a 1v3 and how that breaks down for the next 3 rounds following, but more exciting in each round. In each round, I think there is more excitement, but the overall story, I think, has lost some excitement. Because each round, if you break down, we obviously can't watch all 10 players at the same time, right? But if you're watching every little microcosm, like those tendencies I was talking about, if you knew them and you knew that they were getting exploited, that is the story in itself. And that is in the space of, obviously, broader of a game, but in one round of how they play off of each other, that right there is something that I think is harder to highlight, for sure. But maybe why a lot of the players like Fallen, for example, like the game at the moment, because it means that there's always a chance to get back in. You're never going to get locked out because of like one round where you made a
fair way of putting it.
So I don't know. There's a lot to consider. There's the stuff that we obviously all think about all the time.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons, in my opinion, why the two teams who came out of nowhere last year to become elite teams was EG and Mouse Sports.
Yeah.
Because in a world where you can go incredibly in depth and you can build these schemes as to we're going to exploit this guy, and if they do that we do all the time because it's their best move, we're going to have the counter for it. They're the two best IGLs in the game at not only having like the playbook, but then knowing like, right, I'm going to read in the game and I'm just going to make a mid-round call that no one can prepare because I haven't prepared it. I'm going to make a read and I'm the best at reading in the game. So you've seen that's why Astralis has lost to these teams, because in that scenario, Astralis did all the prep. That's why I'm no surprise when they lose those games. It's not like when they've lost a game and the guy just outplayed them. They lose those games and they are banging the table and they're like, what's it? We knew he was going to... Oh, but where did that come from? That wasn't in the demo when we did 15 hours research. So it doesn't mean that'll make you the best team, but you can see how that will always be the counter to the dominant paradigm, when the paradigm is you prep properly, everyone knows the fundamentals, we've all prepared here, right? You know the protocols of what we're going to do. Like, that's why that's the counter. I think that's also why those aren't the best teams, though. Like, that works against certain squads. It's not necessarily that consistent in its own right.
And there's also one factor here, which when you're just watching, it's obviously like Yanko brought it out recently, was the power of the confidence. And I think that comes from like how individually sound you're feeling on the day, right? Like if you're warming up and everything's going well, and you know your favorite songs come on the radio on the way to the venue and breakfast has gone good. These players, it's not superstitious, but like because it's a mental game, you carry a lot of that stuff with you, right, for the whole day. And I think that one of the factors here that it's not to do with counter-stratting or any of this is just getting shot. Right, like I remember. No, seriously, shooting the bad guys.
The more you get shot, the less confidence you have. I didn't find that.
You could do whatever you want. You can make the perfect call. You can do all this kind of stuff. If Twist is going to sit there and mow you down with 3 AK headshots, bang, 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 doesn't matter what you did, right?
It's going to make you second guess, certainly.
Exactly, right. And that's the one thing. It's like that point right there of just how Olaf said to me one time. He made a comment. This was after one of our very few victories. We beat Fnatic at that Gfinity event, and he said, "I didn't feel like I'd ever been shot that hard, right? Like we were just always in their face and always getting the kills, and they didn't have a chance to react. Counter-Strike can just feel like that sometimes. You know, you just jump in, and nothing you do can get you out of that hole. You know, you can just be in that hole. You're just getting wrecked. Doesn't matter. You could run your strats. You could do. It's just not going to help you. And that's.
I still can't get past like what a boomer comment he just dropped in there when he was setting the story, because I don't know, you're on the way there. Your favourite song comes on the radio, like, what? Wait, is this Marty McFly or something? You're going on the dial, like, driver, turn that up, like, Hits FM, all non-stop. On like, oh, baby.
The kids still get it in GTA, don't they?
Night, baby. Turn that up. There we go. Come on, boys. Let's do this like we used to back in the day. The Renegades boys are hitting the town.
It's because Chad has lost so many of his headphones now.
I keep dropping them and leaving them, and
you've just gone for radio life.
Yeah,
That's where you're at.
It's simpler that way. Can't lose the car radio.
That's the thing, though. I actually find that a weird angle that Yanko would have, though, because first of all, like you say, they always try to stress in FaZe that they're doing all this preparation and the planning. And like, as far as I can tell, like Yanko's brother must own like a land center in Belgrade. Like the excuses they have to go there constantly is ridiculous. But they keep going there anyway. I mean, they even went and played like in a mixed team and lost in a tournament. Did you see that?
I saw they were playing in a mixed team with like
they didn't win the
tournament.
Stuff, right? They didn't win the tournament. They had Coldzera and Nico. They didn't win the tournaments anyway.
Oh dear.
So keep predicting them win real tournaments, but never mind. So when they go there, right, they say they're doing this prep. If you have players like that and you lack confidence, there's something else going on there. There's something in the mental game. If I have Coldzera next to me and I'm Nico, I've got all the confidence in the world. If I'm Coldzera and I've got Olaf Meister and like that should naturally build into something, you know.
Yeah, I don't. There's so much stuff we don't know.
That's,
you know,
that's the
that's one of the things. Obviously, a lot of the stuff we're doing here is either stuff we've heard behind the scenes or just actual speculation, right? I think,
Well, I'd speculate, right? If you're talking about confidence for those guys, they're used to winning, they used to smash it the whole time with their previous teams. They come into this, they have a bit of success with carrying it, then obviously massively drops off. Then surely their confidence has gone in the first place that, yeah, we are great players, but we can't get it all together.
Yeah.
That's a major confidence blow.
Yeah, and then we have the same thing in the sense of what we were talking about with Fallen, right? Like if we're going to put, if anyone was going to put that tag of, oh, you know, they make enough money and they don't need to, you know, perform anymore, you could put that tag on a lot of teams.
Loads.
Right?
Definitely no.
It's not just the MIBRs of the world. Like these players are living comfortably, right? So the thing driving you to play is your competitive drive. How badly do you want to be the best? right? That right there is a question that you probably have to ask yourself every single day when you get up, right?
Simple's the perfect one of that, who just plays non-stop all the time.
That was always the
what's
argument,
happening.
right? The Stewies, the Simples.
Yeah.
Get home from a tournament.
Grind.
1 hour later, you're already playing FPL streaming it.
Yeah.
Like,
The funny thing is, though, Fallen, when he was getting upset there, like the implication of that is like what he didn't address is there are pro players that are like that. Like I'll tell you right now, this is half speculation, half confirmed, which is that is what Guardian was doing in Na'Vi for the last few months. Right? Think about it, right? He's absolutely burned to a crisp. He's been playing for years. This guy might be playing for like 14 years straight in Counter-Strike every day of his life. Then he was in the FaZe Clan lineup where it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And when he came to Na'Vi, what was the reason why it was going to work with him and Simple? Because he wasn't coming to be the star player. I'm just coming to AWP, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to do this, that.
He's a journeyman.
When you see the way he played, I think instead of joining Na'Vi, he should have just taken 3 months off and he should have reset completely. Because I basically reached out to him and I said to him, like, listen, mate, I don't know what's happened to your form, but this isn't the Guardian I've ever seen. Like, I've never seen, it's not even the idea that, like, you're just playing bad. You're, like, consistently bad when you play now. Like, you're actually, you literally sometimes are a liability. And essentially, I won't say what he said, but it was communicated to me that, like, yeah, I basically need a chance to like build back up again. Like where I am right now isn't where I should be. Like I haven't necessarily, he intimated like maybe he didn't put in the hours or maybe he was just doing like
the bare minimum.
He was just going to see what happened for a few tournaments and then didn't make a decision. So, I mean, in this case, they caught him already. He didn't get a chance
But
to
he's on the
build
bench
back.
now, right?
Yeah.
In theory, yeah.
I mean, in theory. But I mean, that is the scenario where, like you say, 3 months on the bench, sit there, recap, readjust.
Who's going to buy him? I don't think they'll put him back on the main roster unless, you know, someone blows a gasket or something. But in the
I mean, it's still Guardian.
Yeah, but
if
who's going to
Guardian's
buy
smart,
him?
here's what he does, right? Again, we're not supposed to go into some of the other tournament organized stuff, but I'll just say this. In a world where there's going to be another league where teams are buying into and potentially there's this incentive to spend money to get players, he's someone where if you're a team, who can't get you can't get an equal, you can't get Coldzera, you can't even get, like, let's just say someone like Valdir, you can't get him because he's an OG now, right? Actually, Guardian's not a terrible one. If you want to take a risk and you want to tell him, listen, I'll make a team. I've got these players that are young players. I've got this player that's like just a journeyman, stable, like an AZ type guy. He's going to just do his job. He's all right. What about if I bring you back in and I put the team around you and you have to commit to me, though. You have to say that you're ready to go all in again and you're ready to be the Guardian that was 3 years ago. That's where you could potentially have that, like, maybe he has another year and a half in him where he can be really good again. But I feel like there's got to be, everything has to come together. There's got to be the impetus. But I also will say, when you're a player like Guardian, that's why I reached out to him. I didn't buy the angle he's just bad now.
Nah.
I've never really bought that with Get Right. Like, what, he's just a support...
Nah.
Like, to me, it's the same story with Get Right. When Get Right got worse, he voluntarily became the support player. That's actually, that to me is a system.
Mentality.
You know, you're even telling yourself, I can't do those things anymore. That's why back in the day, the angle you went with was I'm old, which we know now is kind of whack.
That's not the case.
You see a whole bunch of people who are bangers at 28, like they're amazing. So to me, the whole angle on that one is like, you can't limit yourself in that sense. And also you've got to actually acknowledge that, like, things went badly and start new. You've got to start new for real, though.
Yeah, I think that mental, that whole thing isn't easy. Right,
Sure.
that as a mental thing for a lot of people isn't not anything that they've ever had to really come across either. Like, you look at the way that everything's kind of evolved to, especially for somebody like Guardian who's come up through the grassroots of Counter-Strike, to be at this point now. I know you're saying like 3 months, right? Like a period of time off is definitely necessary. I thought for Oscar it was necessary as well, but he has come back to Sprout and he's been doing nothing. He went like -17 in their last series. They lost to a Cillian's team, right? Like in an online event just last night or the night before or something like that.
The thing is, though, the distinction is this. If a normal player, like I'll get a great example is Kirby. Kirby was never like a Hall of Fame player. He was a good player, and at one point he like maybe hit a point of like he was bordering on very good, and then he went down again a bit, and now he's nothing. He's just an okay player and he just plays in the scene, right? There's no real reason as to why I should necessarily think he'll ever be a great player. He's probably had his chance. He might have had his window. With someone like Guardian, because they were great and then they were great for so many years, I'll always give a chance that it is other factors. Something else is impinging on it, something in your life. You maybe just not in the space to even play Counter-Strike, but it's your job and you want to make a living and you don't have other options. Like, that's, for example, one of the things I've often said. I don't go that hard generally on people like Adren, obviously the guy from Kazakhstan here, not the coach at Liquid, because I know for someone like him, every other option for a job in real life is terrible compared to being even a bad player in Virtus Pro now. So if he really wants to just literally just be like, I'm just a journeyman now, here's my job, can I have my check? If that's the life he wants to live, that's cool. I can then say, right, I know he's not going for the top spot though. With people like Guardian though, I think there's always a chance
to win the
they can
major.
come
hunger,
back.
he wants it.
But that's the point. what's the point in playing the now if you're Guardian and being the worst player? The only reason to play it is to get that major. So you may as well say, the next 2 years, if at the end of it, it's major or bust.
But that's
if I
why
don't get it, I'm out. If I do, let's go hard.
But that's why this Na'Vi project was perfect. Like,
in theory, yeah.
If he was able to perform, right, this Na'Vi project would have been perfect. Having the opportunity to play with Simple and Electronic, and then you've got,
you think it's too much, though?
Well, maybe. I thought, well, Dunga was saying, about him not performing and stuff. I was thinking maybe he went in there because his tail ender phase was pretty dismal as well, with a little bit of imposter syndrome. It's like, I'm now playing with the goats of tomorrow, right? Like the best players that we're
trying to ring chase a bit. They'll carry me to a major.
He might not have had it. Yeah.
Maybe he felt a little bit like I'm not as good as these guys, and that could have hampered his performance.
He was right in that case, but the point is whether or not that is what had to happen.
But gents, they're telling me we have to go soon, so
okay.
They said we could talk for as long as we wanted.
Oh, you can close
the
thoughts.
Fallen used 75% of the time. Just tell us what his breakfast was like.
Do we think EG are going to bounce back from their drop off towards the tail end of last year?
Here's the thing. EG literally is about one player, and it's Breeze.
Okay.
If you see when Breeze plays badly, they have to rely on every genius call from Stanislaus to come in. Like, Cirque has to go completely up. If Breeze is there at a tall and elite level, I think the rest of the pieces just fall into position. So he's the player where I know from talking to him, he felt super burned out. He didn't know where his game was going. Maybe teams actually started to focus in on him because before that he was just an okay player, wasn't he?
Sure.
So I feel like you've got to get your superstar back. Then we can look at the other pieces. I think the other pieces generally perform.
Yeah, Cirque was looking pretty good. Ethan definitely has a lot of moments.
Yeah.
I think like the weird thing with Ethan is when Stan joined, he initially dropped off, but then he had a resurgence later on when Breeze was dropping off a little. I think those two as individuals outside of Liquid, those two right there, they are sick. Like they are mechanically very, very good players.
Which is why it sucks that those two could go off in a game and they would come ninth.
Yeah.
It was whack because the systems didn't work somehow.
Cirque got progressively better as the year went on as well, which helped them.
Yeah, he got more consistent.
And I think them having a break, considering how many events they were at across NRG and EG across the whole year, having this break that hopefully gives them like, cool, okay, we're ready for it now.
Get the hunger back a bit.
Yeah, or just not feel like you're dead all the time from traveling.
Yeah.
Because at one point they went China, America, then to Europe. Like, what kind of a schedule? That's just unfair.
I was talking, I forget who I was talking to about it from the team, but it was one of those things where they started the year and they didn't. They were a good team, and then they made like 2 finals or whatever, or they made 2 top 4s or something along those lines, and then all the invites for the second half of the year started rolling in, right? Because they're normally 6 months in advance, and then they're like, "Whoa, we're considered good now, so obviously sign on to everything.
Let's go.
Let's shove all in." And then the realization of traveling from New York after winning a trophy and getting off the plane and then getting and playing in Stockholm and being jet lagged and getting knocked out. That right there, I think, is a hard realization. It's like, oh, okay, we might need to calm this one down. But hopefully for this year, teams, at least in the upper echelon, need to be smarter or should be smarter.
Well, they should be as well, right? With this league, I mean, the league formats and all that's setting up, it seems like there perhaps going to be less opportunity for these lands to really get in here and slam your schedule.
Yeah,
I looked for a number of teams like Mouse Sports and EG. When you're looking at all the events they went to, some of the schedules, just flights and everything, was just mental. Like, that's never good for playing at like top level in anything, to perform in any standard, even for what we do.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I think that's going to be it for now.
Cool.
So we will have Launders and Scrawny. They're going to come in after the break, and I believe it's going to be with a couple of the players from Liquid as well. So we got to hear from Fallen. Fallen's going to be back with MIBR. For the rest of the day here on the stream, we're now going to get to start interviewing some of the players and get their thoughts on 2020 and where things are going with CS. So Liquid are coming up next with Scrawners and Scrawners.
That's the name.
That's good. Let's go.
Scrawners. There you go. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's, of course, the Backstage access here at Blast Premier. Myself, Scrawny, joined by Launders and the Kings of NACS.
Wow, big title.
Twist
Big
and
title.
Stew. What's up,
We
guys?
live up to
Blow
it.
that ego up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stewie just had his moment where he gets to like retweet the memory that they won the major 2 years
Yeah,
ago. Just
2 years
now,
ago.
so,
Time
yeah.
flies, huh?
Yeah.
Time flies.
That's insane.
In the
yeah.
esports world, time flies. It felt like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I don't want to get too heavy too quickly, but I actually have a question about that because I remember I was talking to Tim and he was saying like his next win will feel bigger than the major itself because he's had like such a drop off with just like how the results and everything like that, like his teams that he's played with.
Yeah.
Did you feel like that after you won the major? You started like when you went MIBR and then Liquid. Was there a point where you're just like, I want to win like a big win so badly, the same level as the major?
I think when I joined Liquid, you get to this feeling where you just don't feel that feeling of winning anymore. You don't have that, accomplishment feeling. You don't feel that anymore. And when you get used to that, it's a big feeling when you start winning again. It's hungry and it's kind of like a drug where you just want more of that. You want to keep going. You want to keep going until you get tired of it. And then eventually, like for Liquid, we won the Grand Slam. And for us, our expectation was just to win every tournament. And when you start losing, it just feels worse and worse. But you got to grind back up that feeling again,
Twist. So I was just reading Zeus's new book.
Oh yeah.
Did you start? Did
no,
you read
I
any
didn't
of
start, but I saw the title and I saw like all the images he made.
Yeah. So he's just talking a lot about Na'Vi and like all his teammates and everything.
He went-
It's pretty juicy already. Yeah.
All the true colors are out.
Exactly.
that's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm only on like chapter 2, but yeah.
Is it good so far?
Yeah, it's pretty good so far. I'm like curling up with like a cup of
Gotta
hot
check it
cocoa
out.
reading this book. It's pretty good. Twist, you got that same feeling where it's like, it's just like if you go like basically it's like the hardest to stay on the top. That's one of his sentiments too, right? And just like getting to a point where you're winning stuff is holding on to that's like the hardest part, but it's also the least motivating to try to just keep your position where it is, right? Whereas when you're on the climb, there's so much more. I feel like you get so much more energy because you're like
You've got a target.
a place to go,
Yeah, exactly.
as opposed to just like sitting in the castle defending your position. Do you have that same feeling?
I guess like for me it'd be different because 2018 was just like the story of second places, and we're just waiting for like our event win pretty much throughout the entire year. I mean, we're at that level where we could take any of the events, but it never happened.
We only won Summit. Yeah.
Yeah. One beginning of the
us.
year, and then we made a roster change like
Yeah.
instantly.
All you won was a duck
It wasn't even a duck. I don't know.
and a minor, I think, right?
That was
Minor.
Summit and a
2017.
minor.
Oh yeah, the minor, yeah.
That was like the last win. It was like a minor. So I guess it's a liege. Was like he won a minor and then a duck, and then you guys joined, and then like things started to turn up a little bit.
I thought you said one in actual minor. Like, never mind.
No, let's not go there. What's your favorite beer? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Me?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You have any questions?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking me what my favorite beer was. Milan. I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, questions, man. How does it feel back? You guys have like what was your mentality going into the break? Was it like because I mean, listen, the last player break, that's where we kind of saw Liquid, fall a bit, right? That's when the big question was like, will you be able to keep that form when you guys come back from that? And other teams kind of got praised for like grinding that time period. Did you guys grind this time period, or did you really let that relaxation sink in?
I definitely grinded.
Yeah, I guess for me the difference is when the break comes, I always have this period of time where it's kind of like a moment of silence just to reflect how the year went and if I felt good about it. And then there's always this period of time where I get this burst of energy and motivation, so I continue to keep playing. And for me this year, I guess it's now making the top 20 again. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, well this year, like I really want to try to make it. I want to try my best, and it's gonna be. We're gonna try to do.
Don't start hunting eco kills. And
no,
stuff.
not like that. Not like that. I'm definitely still gonna. I'm definitely still gonna play for the team, but it's just another goal on top of another goal, and just gonna add it to the list, and hopefully I accomplish that.
Dude, that was actually a really big question. The like after the major, then like the drop off, but I had no idea why the hell you guys dropped off. Like what happened? At that, you lost that series versus Astralis at the major. Then they beat you 3 more times. It was close at first, and then it started getting farther away. Why? Why did that happen?
I don't know the correct answer, but my answer is that we're not used to being the team that's up there. With Astralis, the #1 teams in the world, and we got all eyes on us, and we weren't used to that. We didn't know how to answer back. We didn't know how to readjust, readapt, and we just went down a downhill slope, and it just pretty much just went downhill from there. We didn't know how to answer back.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so much you can do. I mean, of course, when you're going to all these events back to back, every other team that's at the event doesn't really have the time to thoroughly study you. So you're just able to take all these trophies back to back because they can't answer to what you're doing. And then when you go on a break, it's like, I mean, the teams that aren't on a break, they're just all watching you. They're stealing all your stuff, just studying you. And then like,
do you ever change when you're playing? Do you change the decision you're about to make because you think that the dude who you know is going to come around the corner knows how you played it last time? Or do you ever change the position you play because you know they always destroy you in that spot?
Never. I still play the same.
Always the same?
Yeah. And then
Astralis
needs me.
And then, where were we? Where was that event? I can't remember where it was. It was at Bahrain. No. Were you at the? You were the guys at the global finals, obviously, right?
Yeah, of course, second place.
There was Astralis, and you were in the bathroom right after the on Inferno, and you kept getting naded to death in B site. And I remember you were standing beside like Magisk and like Glaive or something. You looked at Magisk, said, "Don't talk to me right now." Just every time you went from one position, you play like emo, then you get Molotoved, and then you get flashed on your way to quad, and then a Molly would be waiting for you in quad, and then you basically had no chance to play.
I remember this one round where we were playing Inferno, and I've seen them throw nades from like the half wall to coffins. And one round I think I got legged, and I was low HP.
Yeah.
And then in my head I was like, well, I have to play this headshot angle, you know. And I've seen them nade here before, and I was like, there's no way they'd nade again.
Twice,
and I just see somebody come over. And
I remember that. Yeah.
It was so bad. I hate playing against them. But there are demons, so.
I mean, that shit happens to me too. Pit's like equally as annoying. You get spotted once, smoke goes down. Fucking.
What do you do? What's your protocol? You throw when you see like a generally, like not to throw
like
give anything away, but you drop your smoke, you play right side pit, you wait for a second to see if you get a free shot off, and then you move.
Well, basically, you just have to like throw the smoke down and like pick what target you think have the best chance of winning the duel and also surviving. I mean, just like they're gonna know you're there the second the smoke goes down, and it's just like about delaying for like your team.
Yeah.
But lately, it's just like you throw the smoke down and you get fucking spam by and off, you get double nade or something.
Yeah.
Everyone knows how to play against it now.
Yeah. So I mean, Astralis, it's kind of like they have to do that too, right? Is that like? Do you guys think about that? Like the fact that they have the same game as everyone else. It's not any easier just because they're able to do it. But do you wonder what the difference is between the way that they approach the game, or like when they know that everybody's watching them, how they prepare? Do you try to think about that, or do you try to come up with your own way of doing it?
It's kind of hard to figure out how they exactly like to play. I think the deeper into the round, as the clock goes lower, it's harder to find out what's the real reason why they're doing something, or what's the real reason why they want to use their nades this way. You know, like it's hard to figure out the correct answer that they use. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just figuring that out, and then you figure out how they play. Once you figure that out, I think you'll figure out the reasons and like how they actually think about the game, and you know how they adjust and how they adapt.
Pretty much, it just takes time. It's like if you're watching Astralis on like CT side nuke, like you're not gonna understand like why they're rotating the way they are, but like the more you watch it, the more like you'll start to understand.
Start to make sense.
You guys ever talk to them? You ever talk to them about CS just off the cuff? I mean, I know you guys have like a grudge, a hell of a grudge, right?
So
one of the best.
What's your game plan against?
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, you know, just like curious, you know, to like what level. I know you guys have like you have respect for one another. Obviously, you play each other all the time. You see each other all the time at events. I was just wondering if you guys ever actually get a chance to just chill, or if it's always like that wall is up because you're thinking like next time.
Nah.
You know.
I've had a couple conversations with Glaive. I think nothing too crazy, not about anything in depth in the game. It's just more about giving each other credit and, you know, seeing what each other's worths are, and that's pretty much it. I don't think we've ever crossed the line of, you know, asking each other why we do this, why we do that. But I think we just keep it like that for the respect.
I got a question for both of you. Just a more general question about motivation versus discipline. This is something I talked about when I was doing my podcast recently, and it was just that motivation is this thing that's fleeting. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But when you have a job to do, like you guys are pro players, and you have to go to a tournament, life doesn't wait for you. You've just got to be prepared. You've got to practice. You've got to put in the work, no matter what. So then that's where discipline comes in. A lot of people would look at discipline as a better way of finding a way to just like, you know, you get out of bed right when you're supposed to wake up. You do practice because it's your job. Do you guys think about motivation versus discipline, or do you feel always motivated? Is that how you get so much game time in? Like the reason I thought about it is because Stewie, like even last January, I think you had that period where you played like 200 pugs in 1 month. I think I went to your Faceit page, and then no, you didn't stream any of this.
No, I didn't.
I tweeted out your Faceit page because it was just like, it was like 7 games a day or more or something on average. Was that a wave of motivation, or was that you saying to yourself, this is a perfect time to get ahead of everybody else? This is like a disciplined decision by me.
I think it's a little bit of both. You just got to find a way to balance both and make sure it's healthy on both sides. It's kind of like, you know, making sure you're balancing your life and CS at the same time, not too much of both. And I think it's just it just meshes once you find that balance and you can find that discipline and the motivation. And it's hard. Sometimes you don't have that motivation and you understand that this is your job. And when you look at it from the outside in, it's a good job. You know, you don't do much. You just play a video game. But sometimes when you're in that moment, it's hard to just snap out of that and get that mentality where, okay, I'm going to try my best and give everything I got. But it's not as easy as it said.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my break was definitely more focused on just rejuvenating my mental health and stuff. 'Cause I was pretty burned out the last month of the year, and yeah, I mean, I didn't really play CS that much at all. I think I stopped playing CS the 24th of December, and then I just picked back up on the 10th of January.
Physical health too, man. You've been killing it. I saw it's like five days a week right now, full body every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that because you were on break and you knew you had a bunch of time to kind of put aside for that? I'm sure for you, it helps mentally as well. Right? It's one of the best things, man. So do you see yourself moving forward that intensely now that the years kick back in, or is it you've got to take some time away from physical health and mental health to focus now on game time? Because this is it, bro. We're in London. CS starts soon.
In order to be good in game, you gotta be mentally healthy.
Yep.
So, I mean, everything fits into one.
Yep.
If you're not working out and also trying your best in game, then I don't think you're utilizing your full potential as a person. But yeah, mental health is definitely one of the bigger things for me.
Do we have enough hours in the day? That's a question I always ask myself. It feels like
Takes about 1 to 2.
What's that? Yeah.
Just takes about 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody's got a little bit of extra time if you're willing to put in the effort. So, do you have any more questions? Do you want to do it?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah,
no.
we pushed
I think
it.
we'll let you guys
they
off the hook.
prompted us to get this moving, but I wanted to talk to you guys for a while. It was good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We're gonna go to a break, and then when we're back, we're going to have the players from the team that's name is
MIBR.
There we go.
There you go, Mo.
Okay.
See you guys a bit.
That's why they got the synergy.
Committed to this fight. He's taken down by Nitro. 1 versus 2. And Nitro waiting. Oh my God! This play is incredible. And Nitro's done it again.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with more Blast Backstage here. It's Blast Premier in London. We told you we'd bring MIBR, but listen, things are wild, and that's the beauty of all this.
We went one step up.
Yeah, we've stepped it up. We brought back Twists. I mean, why not? And then the one and only,
yes,
Nicholas Estrup, the Director of Product and Experience.
The
Director of Product and Experience.
We rehearsed this so many times.
Yeah, and all around total badass. And I would say the person who I know we had spoken about this, you know, we wanted kind of in front of the cameras when it came to talking Blast.
I know, yeah. For all of
the face of Blast.
2018, we were begging for that. Nicholas,
Jesus,
he's not that bougie. I know his title is like the Director of Product, and he always tells you to say experience, and I refuse to say it.
Yeah.
But he's actually really cool in real life, and he does a lot at Blast, so he's an important person to know. I feel like when you look at the product, you should think of Nicholas's bald Viking head. I think.
Is this a prank? Am I being pranked? This is like an Aston Kutcher moment?
Not yet.
Yeah. No, not yet.
Not yet.
I don't usually pick favorites, but yeah, he's my favorite person at Blast.
Right.
See?
Well, Jesus, what is this?
Man.
And there's a lot of Blast people listening, so that takes a lot for Twist to say. We know he likes to be honest.
Definitely getting fined.
So, Nicholas, I'd ask, like, is today crazy? Have you pulled your hair out? But, like, it's a figure of speech.
You know, the
we can't use
funniest part
with you.
was yesterday, Nicholas was recommending barbers. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
He's recommending barbers to us.
Are you mocking my
That's how
beard or
confident
just my hairless head?
No, I mean, if they flipped it upside down, you'd have a nice haircut.
That's actually how I looked in early 2000s.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, no beard?
No beard.
No
Completely
beard.
flipped.
Okay.
Baby face, chin.
Yeah.
Almost like this beautiful fella, but not as good looking.
Yeah, Twist, you got the setup going, man. You got, like, your style is, like, really started to gel. I'm getting crazy, too.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Watch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been thinking about everything. And, like, you have gone from... Didn't you have braces like a couple
No,
years
I never
ago?
had braces.
Okay, well that's how different it is now. That I thought it's like the glow up from the kid who has braces to this. Can we need a one shot? Come on, can we get the one shot.
They're looking
Really
at the one
quick.
shot, dude.
I don't know, me. Okay, yeah. Of
There's
Twist,
nothing.
you've got a little bit of brown in the jeans to match with the Henley,
Of course.
the deep Henley, right? You've got some more muscles too. And the hair and everything, it's all coming together. How important are aesthetics to you? Talk to me as someone who also appreciates aesthetics.
The vanity.
Just
yeah.
look? What do you mean?
Yeah, like how important is it to be like to look good? Like is it
Well, yeah, I mean, take for instance when someone sees you, your appearance is like their first like judgment, you know? That's their first like impression of you. So if you're dressed like poorly, then maybe like they already have expectations when meeting you. But if you're dressed kind of like professional, you know, like you show that you care about your appearance, and their like initial impression would probably be like, you know, maybe it's more enjoyable to talk to you or something like that.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
it's more than that, isn't it? Because we're gonna go
I
deep
mean,
here.
look good, feel good.
Look good is one thing, but we even almost have the same thing where we're a little bit ostentatious. We go a little bit farther than just looking clean, right? We
It's not just like suit up, clean cut.
It's like a standing out thing, right?
A
Now
little
the way I
flair.
grew up, I went to a very bad high school. All right, I went to a very bad high school. It's the kind of high school you wouldn't buy an Apple Watch and wear it around. That's not the kind of school I went to, right?
Oof.
So for me, and I always had this like kind of inner need to try to like do things and stand out, be a little bit different. That's how I wanted to be. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't feel comfortable doing that. Did you have something similar in school?
No, I mean I looked very, very different.
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago.
But did you
Not
have that in
comparable.
your personality that it wouldn't like you didn't find it yet? Or like what changed? Like how did you transition? What
I think I just grew up.
transition?
You think it's confidence, man? Do you think Counter-Strike? I mean, like, look, I see it this way. When I was in high school, I've been a gamer my whole life, and I used to be like mocked for it, right? I feel like a lot of people have that story. But we're gonna switch Nicholas out with Taco.
Wait, we didn't even ask Nicholas any questions.
Yeah.
No,
is that what we're doing?
No, we're not switching. Nicholas
Taco
out with
wants to
Taco.
come in. I'm looking at him.
I was
Nicholas,
thinking,
any
why
last
am
words?
I even here?
Should we give him a Viking death?
Only if it's a proper Viking.
Proper. We will hit the
Yes.
arrow.
I
Yeah,
will.
we let
I
the-
will set you ablaze, Nicholas.
Yeah. I feel like you would clutch the Viking death.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Well, that's it for me.
Nicholas,
Yeah, we can
what's your
change you
favorite
out.
TV show?
Favorite TV show?
Yeah.
That's too big. That's too big.
What's
a
your favorite
question. I can't
color?
answer. These are just weird questions.
Blast
now.
colors. He's gonna say.
Exactly.
You're over 2, Nicholas.
Yeah, exactly.
Blast
This is
is my
why you're
favorite
leaving
color.
now.
Nicholas, who's the best barber in London? You want to give him a shout?
Ruffians.
Ruffians. There we go.
All right.
Ruffians in Covent
That's a big
Garden.
one. Nicholas, where are your shoes from?
Scandinavia, clearly. It looks like an indoor soccer shoe, right?
Yeah. That's the look.
Nicholas, I'd like to at some point. Don't go too far, because if we can bring you back in,
Yeah.
there are some things that I think you should talk about with us.
Okay, I have a
Yeah.
story for you, right? The
Oh,
one that
perfect.
you just said, it can be a follow-up. It can be like a two-parter.
Yeah.
Where you came from, I was kind of like the direct opposite.
Okay.
Listening to Tupac, West Coast hip hop, all that stuff, but living in a very nice neighborhood of Denmark, but feeling very little street. I try to bring the street to the very well-established part of Denmark, and it's a stupid story. So I was the direct opposite, and I looked insane. Maybe we can get a picture on. I don't know.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Like model?
What?
Look like a model?
No, definitely not. Just
Do you look
an
like
idiot.
Kurt Cobain?
Yeah,
more like
a
a,
little bit.
teenage idiot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blonde hair, the whole shebang, skateboard under my arm was perfect.
Listen, Nicholas, I've got an update for you.
Okay.
Your story was actually so good. We're going to keep you on. Twists. I'm
Hang
sorry,
on.
bro, but
just like that.
You
Oh
threw
my
him
God!
out?
Wow, that is a
He's on the chopping
M.
block.
Night Shyamalama Ding Dong
Yeah.
twist right there.
Dude,
Yeah.
fucking
That's what
Uno
Twist,
risk card
two Zs.
happened.
Okay,
Did I win the
Jesus.
story?
We'll switch you up, bro.
I think maybe
Thanks for
that's
coming
enough
back, though. We
then.
needed
Yeah,
somebody,
appreciate
and
man.
you stepped up
worries.
to the plate. So,
Okay, cool. All right,
been real.
Taco, make the awkward transition in.
Come on in,
Swap that
buddy.
I
twist.
feel like this is my fault.
a little bit.
I mean, a lot of things
I
are
feel
your
like-
fault.
but-
I don't know if this is one of them.
Good seeing
We
you.
wanted to keep you here, man.
Yo, what's up,
man?
Taco?
Good to see you, bro.
Good to taco to you, man. We haven't spoken to you in a while.
Hello,
Yeah. Hey,
everyone.
baby.
Yo, it's good
How
to
you
be,
doing?
to
Yes.
be back.
Dude,
I
Taco,
know.
you smell
Last
pretty
premiere.
good.
Thank you.
You got a little bit of a musk going on. What's the scent?
I can tell you the brand. but,
Oh, okay. No free sponsor
Okay.
plugs. Right?
Nothing
no
for free,
brand
right?
deals. Yeah.
Yeah,
No
it's not
free
because
brand.
of the brand actually. It's
Okay.
because it's my secret. So
All right.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't
True.
just give it for free.
secret
you know?
scent?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I respect
I
that.
mean, we'll talk about it later, right?
That's next
Yeah.
level.
It's all good.
Pay a beer and
What was your break like? Were you? Did you go back to Brazil?
yes, I went back to Brazil. It was very good actually. I had a lot of time with my family and girlfriend, and it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And I could enjoy my free time. I went to the beach. I did everything I could.
Are you from Sao Paulo or Rio?
Uh,
or neither.
I'm from Northeast. My city's name is Recife.
Okay.
It's 3 hours by flight from São Paulo. It's
From Sao Paulo.
yeah, it's kind of far away.
It's like in the middle of Brazil, kind of, or like on the west side. You by like the Amazon?
Was so
No, it's like
That would be
northeast,
awesome, though.
like upright,
Oh, okay.
northeast.
Cool.
Yeah,
Do you like it as like small town life, or is it like pretty big city?
it's a pretty big city,
Okay,
and
okay.
and I mean it's seaside. It's really beautiful actually. It's where people in Brazil spend vacation, so I don't have to pay tickets to
Oh,
go there.
you're
I just
nice.
live there.
Yeah, I
I just
got you.
live there.
Living in it.
Yeah.
Do you ever do like tour guide stuff? I noticed like a lot of the places that I visited, there's like a huge amount of the population gets into tourism because that's where the money's at. Everyone tips, right? They're tipping American dollars, right? Like,
Exactly.
So did you ever do anything like that? Your early jobs, or were you always just playing Counter-Strike?
I was just playing Counter-Strike, to be honest. Yes.
Okay.
That's luck.
That's the life.
That's another way to get some American dollars.
True.
So.
Yeah, I was actually I started playing CS when I was 16 or 15 years old, something like that. And that's when I just joined one of the best Brazilian teams, and I got invited to Games Academy at the time. And then I think people
The
know
rest is history.
Yeah, the rest
Yeah.
is history. And then I joined LG at the time, and then SK Gaming, and then Liquid, and
Just won a couple
here I am.
majors along the way. What-
Yeah, my VR.
Nothing big.
It's all
Just
cool.
a couple of
Yeah.
majors. Did you play at home or at internet cafes? I'm from the
Uh,
internet cafe age.
Me too, yeah.
That was a
At
good time.
home, at home. Yes, I'm a new school. I know.
Young
Yeah.
Lin.
Internet cafe.
What's
What are you
your-
talking about, Nicholas?
That's why I shouldn't be on, because
What is your history? You played 1.6?
1.5 even.
1.5 even,
Yeah,
yeah.
way back. So I'm from the same kind of-
Boomer. Go ahead.
Exactly. So that's a boomer version to play. I was from the same time as Danny, the coach of Astralis.
Zonic, yeah.
From the same friend group in the community back then. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, we would hang out at old LAN events all the time.
Why was he so much more successful than you?
Oh my God. Yeah, he has a book.
Because he's-
Nicholas, where's your book?
Just about like 500 times better at the game than I am. Yeah. So back then, you remember Clan Base and all these old places you would go and play. I was like the friend in the group that was never really good enough to be on a team properly, but I was part of like the Clan Base gang.
Yeah.
So I would just get picked up for like, oh, we need a stand-in for this. Where I'm like, okay, sure, right on. Mirk, M-I-R-C.
MIRC, yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm down, okay, and then go. So I had these random experiences, but I was never really good enough. So I did content instead.
When
You're
I
happy to be there, and you're happy to be here.
Yeah,
And
this is
now
good.
we're gonna have.
Still don't
to
know why
kick
I'm
you
on
off.
this
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
but-
You're gone now.
Am I getting
You're
kicked
allowed
off
to leave.
officially?
Yeah,
you
you're allowed to
officially
leave.
have to
I feel like
go.
I said my piece now.
Yeah,
You did.
that's
You got
true.
a couple stories in. You know, you
Internet
represented
cafe
a
now,
different
okay.
generation of CS.
Remember this face, guys.
Exactly.
Remember this mug.
He's not going anywhere.
Give him a big smile, Nicholas.
Except for right now.
Okay, I will leave now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good seeing you all.
Yes.
Thank
Adios.
you.
Okay,
Thanks
take
for
care.
I need like
You.
a full outro. I need the show to shut
Well,
down completely.
in that
need some
case, all right.
music.
Nicholas called for
We
it,
need
guys.
some
We're going to go to
music.
a break.
I can do
Nicholas
it.
wants it done. We're out.
I can do a beatbox.
Okay.
Okay, go.
Am I staying? Am I going?
Okay, we've got a highlights package here with Astralis and FaZe Clan.
Oh.
And is it a Coldzera highlights
It is a
package?
Coldzera ace.
Usually when
Look at
Coldzera's
that.
on the team, it's a Coldzera highlight package. That's
Normal.
what I've learned watching Coldzera over the years.
Who's this one? Another cold highlight. You know, this is all this is good timing, Londers, I gotta say.
Yeah. Cold, you loving this or what's
Yeah,
going
that's
on?
pretty good, man.
Yeah, this is some of your
This is
best
good.
work.
Yeah, don't like Vertigo too much, but
Yeah.
it's good.
So is 2020 Cold going to be better than 2019 Cold?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope it's gonna be way better.
Was 2019 Cold better than 2018 Cold?
No chance.
No chance. Not even close? Well, you actually didn't even play as much, right? Because
Yeah.
you had a big break.
Yeah, 3 months break.
Yeah. No, Flesha took a giant break. That one like over the summer with some of the spring as well. He came back and won a Masters. Did you feel a little bit more worried about like taking some time off and not playing matches on LAN?
So what's kind of tough for me, especially when you're on the bench for 3 months. So when you play the first match on the stage or on some tournament, you have high expectations, right? Because like I had a long time to practice. So when I came for the first tournament, I think it was New York, I played so bad because I put so much pressure in my shoulders. So, well, like just one tournament, and after that, like I started to like get more fresh.
You know what's funny about that statement to me, Connor, is that when you played your first major, okay, you didn't have any experience. You came into
Right.
your major, and then you had a positive rating in all your major, like every major you played. And at that major, didn't you get MVP your first major?
No, the first major I think we lose in the quarterfinals.
Oh,
I
sorry.
didn't remember for who. I think it was Fnatic.
What am I talking about? Okay. But you still played really well, and that's
Yeah.
what kept you on the team, right?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, but how much pressure was that compared to the pressure of coming back after? So here's the circumstances, though. Even though you played for a while, everyone knows you're good. You did take a break, and you've got to continue to prove that you're Coldzera, the guy from 2016.
Yeah, I think it's kind of different. I think when I played my first tournament, like was a major already. I think, of course, I had high expectations as well, but like was kind of new, right? So it was the first tournament of my life. So I think like was a pressure, but at the same time was like let's play, to see how it goes. But I think when I took the break and after I played the first match, I think it was more important because I was already like playing good, so I had high expectations about myself. So I think I put too much pressure, like to really show it up, So like it was kind of different. I think it was different, like mentality.
Yeah, it's like when you first do it, there's pressure, but you don't know what's coming, so you just want to do it. And then
Yeah.
feel it out, right? Get a vibe for
like
it.
that,
But then you know what the highs are like, you know what the lows are like, and I understand where you're coming from. But yeah, man, we saw some good stuff from you towards the end of 2019. We actually looked away right before the clip happened, but it was the 2 versus 5. I got to say thank you for this. My favorite casting moment. 2 versus 5, you and Nico to win Blast Copenhagen. That must have felt really good.
Yeah, of course. Especially because I didn't win a tournament, I think, since 2017. I think that I like.
Oh my God, really? Yeah.
Doesn't feel like
but
that.
not big tournaments.
Yeah.
So
right.
like, I think when we won, like I feel like all the pressure like was gone. So it was a good feeling for sure.
Yeah, because you did win 2 blasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those feel like 2-day tournaments, like not the same feeling as like a big like Cologne Katowice or like a major or minors or like a Masters or something like that, right? Yeah.
But it was a good feeling anyway. Like long time like didn't want a tournament, so I think all the pressure was gone and like I was feeling really good.
Okay, so before we wrap up here, what's the difference between 2019 and 2020? Did this break do anything special for you?
Yeah, of course. Like be with my family a little bit. Like have more time to like really know like the team as well. So like I think we had like more time to practice as well. Like I was joining like when I joined was kind of it was kind of bad situation because like we were playing like they were playing already a lot of tournaments already. So we didn't have like too much time to really practice and like have a good structure. But I think this year, like, we already had 1 month to practice, so it was really good. We practiced, like, we had 2 boot camps for playing here. So I think it was good for us this time to, like, really, like, prepare ourselves to this tournament, like, not about, like, just in game, but about mentality as well. So I think, like, for these tournaments, we have high expectations for sure.
Good, yeah. And we all do. I mean,
yeah.
all us FaZe fans around the world, man. We all got high expectations. It's really nice to hear that kind of confidence coming from you, man. And good luck in the rest of the tournaments.
Yeah,
thank
you.
Yeah.
We're going to switch out to Brokey. Talking about, I mean, it's a nice place to start, actually, you know?
Yeah.
Getting this whole, like, still feeling it out at the time.
Uh-huh.
That is Brokey. He is feeling this out.
Yeah, so...
Speak the devil. What's up, Brokey?
What's up?
Do you watch... you sound like you just woke up, bro.
Yeah.
Not really.
No. This is just
chill.
you.
Just chilling.
You got like the sleepy eyes, man.
That's what happens every day.
So is it like, do you watch Dragon Ball Z or no?
No, I don't.
Okay, do you know Brawly?
Yeah, I do.
Has people asked you if it's from like Brokey like Brawly or Brokey like broccoli?
Broccoli.
Like
broccoli, yeah. Do you like broccoli?
Yeah. I saw the clip where you talked about it.
I actually didn't even remember that I talked about it. Okay, well, that's good to know. Broccoli, one of the best vegetables. Top 3 vegetables?
I don't like it.
No?
Okay, then
What is the top
you
3?
need to have top 3.
Carrots, tomatoes, and cucumber.
That was actually pretty fast.
Yeah,
I
good
gotta give him
answers
credit.
too, man.
I don't know if it was like you made that up, but you made it up so fast. I believe you.
Wait, tomato, fruit or vegetable?
I don't know.
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
Cherry or regular?
Small ones? Yeah, small tomatoes.
Cherry tomatoes?
Big ones.
Big
ones.
tomatoes. Yeah, heirlooms?
Solid.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I didn't expect him to come through those answers.
Yeah, you're putting us on the spot now.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Do you get nervous when you play matches in on LAN?
I think so, a bit.
I
Get
feel like you're
pressure.
playing with like you know, some pretty big superstars, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't get a little bit nervous when you're playing LAN matches?
A bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Does it get worse or better, or?
I think it's getting better for now.
To be honest, in your first LAN with them, you look good. It was, I mean, maybe you felt nervous. You still had some good moments.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Do you feel nervous and then you feel yourself playing like you normally do, and then you snap out of it, or what happens?
I think it makes me better actually when I feel nervous.
Oh, interesting.
Play well under pressure type of person?
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
You more nervous before the game starts, or like once you're, at that 12-12 mark, money's almost broke, like
Before the match, I think I might keep
once-
thinking about it.
Yeah, running all those situations through your head. I get that.
Yeah. So what was your break like? A lot of the younger players I noticed, I mean, they like take half vacations, like they end up playing a lot more. Were you take a full break?
No.
Go on vacay?
I just stayed at home, chilled a bit, and
My
then
man.
played after like 5 days.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many hours are you at in the last 2 weeks?
1:30.
Everyone cared. 1:30. Okay.
Yeah,
Rain was bragging
nice.
about 100, so
Yeah, get them up. All
that's
right.
good.
Well,
All
thanks,
right,
man. We're going to throw it to a break.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with some NIP.
All right.
NIP. Thanks.
Hello, should I bring it in?
Yeah.
How's it going, guys?
What's up?
We're here with Threat and Rez. I looked at Threat and Rez, and Connor.
That's me.
Ronnie. How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
Good. Good.
It's been a good day.
So, Threat, I'm going to get right to the big questions right away, okay? Now that Cobblestone's out of the map pool, how are you going to help out NIP?
I think you're referring to the triple smoke thingy. Well, there's
Good
always
strat.
Vertigo.
Oh, there's Vertigo.
Oh.
Yeah.
And now Dust 2 in train as well with the new open
The new
step.
changes. Does that get you excited? Does that get you
Yes,
hot?
I woke up like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I just ran out of bed straight to the practice room.
Screaming, excited.
Smokes,
So you can now leave your mark on. So the thing about that was like one of the only things that a coach has ever done that we've been able to see in the matches was that like execute, and everyone talked about it. Other coaches have impact, but the other types of impact they have normally you don't get to see them directly. Is there something about being involved in the actual strategies that get you specifically that you love doing, like the theory crafting?
Yeah, well, the funny thing about those smokes in particular is that it's only one execute. And when I was the coach IGL, my style of calling was actually just very default heavy.
Mhm.
But as those smokes are obviously quite like flashy,
Mhm.
people just tend to remember those smokes way more than like the boring, oh, you should never peek this angle and on a default, because that's like most of the job a coach do. It's
Right,
like those
okay.
tiny mistakes.
Okay, so you just had a hand in each thing. Rez?
Yeah.
How do you...
You always want us to do the threat nades, like the threat
nades, yeah.
Please do that.
Yeah.
Threat nades.
Can you throw threat nades? He's like, which one? Which
Never
one? Threat
happened.
nades. You don't
Never
threat
happened.
nades.
Gonna be on Dust too, probably. But
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so if you want to give Threat a rating out of 100, Rez, go ahead.
It's not even on the rating, brother.
Oh. I
one
like
can,
that.
No one can find these kind of smokes that Threat finds.
Oh, wow, really?
Okay.
Wow, I guess we'll have to watch the demo.
Yeah.
Yeah? And then it's over. Is that a hard part about coaching? You got to keep coming up with new stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Especially now. I mean, when I started in 2016 coaching NIP, I don't think it was quite as intense as it is now.
Mhm.
I mean, playing some of the maps now, it almost feels like the meta is changing on a weekly basis. And it's like really annoying. Like you come up with something new and on practice, now they're doing this and we have to change it immediately. And fuck, like, we haven't even played a tournament yet.
Yeah, right. Well, we actually have Rez on such a strict schedule on the threat
Yeah,
smoke
the death
schedule
match.
that he has to go. Yeah, he has to go
And
death
practice the
match,
smokes.
throw the threat smoke.
All
So
right.
we're gonna get Lekro in to talk with us for a little bit. Lekro is happy to be off camera for as long as he did, but now we're gonna have to bring him into the stadium, into the arena. What's going on?
Yeah, not much. Just waiting for Rest to go practice.
Oh yeah,
Get him out of the way.
Yeah.
How's your deagle? Did you practice it over the Christmas break, bro?
Not,
Number one
not
Deagle
really.
2020?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I saved the energy for the
Okay.
tournament. Yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
Do you have to practice the deagle?
No.
No, you just play, right? Yeah. That's a weird thing. You know, okay, I do feel like of all the weapons to deathmatch with, now we're talking about deathmatch, that when you practice with a deagle, because there's so much time in between when you shoot, you get a little bit of the tracking practice and the aim, as well as the crosshair placement, and a little bit of everything. I feel like it's one of the better weapons to deathmatch with.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I thought about it, but when I tried it, I just immediately realized how much I suck,
Yeah.
and I just I died 20 times in a row. Like
It's not good for my confidence.
Yeah, back with the Krieg.
Right back to the Krieg, yeah.
Yeah, people play so differently on deathmatch. It's hard to play the deagle there, I think.
Mhm.
But if you manage to make it work, it's really nice.
Yeah.
But I prefer pistol deathmatch. Yeah, I play USP a lot.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Do you think you got to balance like a little bit of rifles, a little bit of
Yeah.
pistols, and then every day just a few? What's your warm up
Yeah,
routine?
I did just usually like.
What's your Betway warm up routine?
Yeah, just press mostly USP and just AK.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't usually practice the Krieg. It's just something that comes out in practice.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
No Krieg practice, no Deagle practice. Those ones are too easy for you.
Yeah.
I feel it.
Unlike Threat.
Yeah. What was your guys' practice schedule like now? Obviously, Nox in the roster, guys. That's big moves, right?
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff. So is
Yeah,
that
how
all
good
going
is
well? Yeah.
Yeah, we've been playing for 10 days-ish. I mean, obviously it's not enough to get a deep map pool, change everything, but we changed a lot on some of the maps. Some of the maps we just kind of kept it the way it was. But it feels like we've gotten further than we thought we would in those 10 days. So it's kind of nice.
Nice.
High expectations here at Blast Premier?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you guys have a group where like you can manage this. You know, even with being a fresher roster out of the four, like I think you guys have high chances. Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, the only awkward thing is, I mean, you get a kind of a sense on which maps you're good on practice, but you still don't really know, right? So you get into the map vetoes, and it's like, which is our best map? Like, we don't even know ourselves. So it's going to be like, we have to explore that a bit first.
Yeah, maybe final thoughts before we wrap up about the new map changes. Do you have any initial impressions about, like, Mirage, let's say at mid?
The bench.
Love it, hate it? Why?
I don't know. I think the bench in mid might be a bit bad. I think I like the BF's change. I think jump spotting. Now you can't like play like a coward anymore. Maybe you have to push it. So just getting.
Wait, what did they change on BFs?
The jump spotting.
Yeah, you can't jump spot over now.
I think they made it shorter. Like they lowered the. What do you say? The balcony.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So when you jump, you show more than just a little bit. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wasn't that bad before though, huh? Like you could. Come with a good jump spot, and then it was like kind of safe. You could still get killed.
Yeah, you can, but there's no punishment, like really.
Right.
And if you go for the peak, you give up too much information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, B contact plays is actually quite viable now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, can we get a zoom in on this card right here?
Run.
Okay, we're gonna leave you with a FaZe highlights video. So see you tomorrow. That's it from us. That's what it says.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Peace.
Moscow.
And here it might be three. Down to the 1v1 and he'll tap the bomb. Gets the kill. Na'Vi 11-11. This is the place you want to be if you're a fan of Counter-Strike. This is where all of the action is going down. Oh, the timing is unbelievable.